Hello, you're listening to a Talk Spirit Anime Cast. My name is Andrew, and I'm joined here with Chris.
Yo.
Today's episode is our Fall 2024 Anime Season First Impressions Part 2. I'm going to be rolling pretty solo this time around. That's okay. Chris has been busy this week. It happens. We'll just shame him in the to the comments and everything. That way he picks up the pace. But yes, we're going to have a whole bunch of shows to go through, give first impressions on. Some of these I've actually done full videos on, so you guys can check that out on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/TakuSpirit. But here we can have a little bit of discussion. And even if he hasn't watched the show, hopefully he can, he can have interest. I can create interest from him, or for him, not from him. But anyways, we're at TakuSpirit.com. That's where all of our links are. Social media links, ways to get a hold of us, ways to support us. Greatly appreciate the support channel. But let's just dive into it because we have tons to go through, and we can't stay here all night. Because we're probably going to end up with like 4 total parts. What's wrong?
Do Over Damsel I've watched.
I asked you.
I just seen it.
I literally asked you.
Sorry.
Is it in the lower part?
It's in the upper part.
Okay, good. There you go. I'll just highlight it yellow, and we'll say that Chris actually watched something. I'm joking. Anyways, let's kick things off with a banger for me. Anyways. And that is danmachi. Is it wrong to try and pick up girls in a dungeon season 5? How far are you with this series so far? Because you fell off at some point, and
I watched the Moss Monster.
Season 3? I think that's season 3. Because in season 4 it's the mermaid and Ryu and all that crap. That would be season 3 then.
No, I watched Ryu and all that. And the mermaid.
So you got the mermaid, so part 2 you didn't see where they both went to the lower level. Did you see that part? And it started getting into Ryu's past, and then...
Yes, I seen that.
They end up having like the crazy tamer group that was trying to kill Ryu.
Seen that.
So you've seen part... And then at the very end, when they're in that arena section, they had to get through the arena in order to get out of there.
I don't remember an arena.
You should be at the beginning of part 2 of season 4 then.
Yes.
So you're not that far back. I thought you were further back. I would have pushed you more. I thought you were like a lost hope. I thought Chris was a lost hope at this point. But yes, for those who don't know, Is It Wrong to Try and Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon follows Bell, and he's a part of the Hestia Familia because Hestia is Bestia. And it's like all these goddesses and gods that are all like left heaven in order to mingle amongst the humans, and they create familias, which are basically where a god or goddess is heading a party or a clan. And Bell is like the only member of Hestia's group. And then over time, like everybody falls in love with Bell because he's like this really hardworking little boy that he's like terrible, but he can fireball, and he fireballs a lot, and he fireballs things to death, and that makes everybody impressed by how hard he's working. But yeah, over time. One key thing, as everybody's falling in love with Bell and everybody wants to be a part of his harem, and eventually Hestia's group is getting bigger and bigger, over time, he gains the interest of a certain goddess named Freya. And now that's finally coming to the forefront. With Season 5, we're finally getting Freya Familia possibly taking action. Well, the beginning parts of this season has been Seer, who's like this maid at this cafe. We end up finding out that Seer's somehow tied in with Freya's Familia. And now Seer out of nowhere is like, decides to take a leap. Like all the other girls, Hestia at some point in the season literally says, all of us have like this unspoken rule amongst all the girls that nobody asks Belle out on a date. And so what the heck is a Seer girl out of nowhere who Hestia has never met before? She says that she's tried to go meet her before because she heard that Seer was making him food or lunches. And she's never seen Seer. And so out of nowhere, Seer, this random maid girl, just pops up and asks Belle on a date, and everybody's freaking out. Like Haruhime is like passing out over here. Lilia's upset. She's gonna like call in all the reinforcements and everything. But anyways, before Belle can go on a date with, because she asked for him on a date, and then suddenly I know where this guy shows up. Hedden, he's part of the Familia as well, shows up and starts putting Belle through like this rigorous training, because you can't be going out with Seer without like knowing what you're doing. So he like puts Belle through this rigorous training in order to be like the perfect, like charming gentleman. Like even at some point Belle's like in a dungeon and he's like practicing. And so Hedden's like off in the distance, like hiding while Belle's in this dungeon and he saves some girls. And then suddenly he just turns around and he's super charming. Like they glowed up Belle like crazy. This dude's like charming girls in the dungeon and everything. But yeah, it all leads up to Seer eventually going on the date with him, and everybody's got eyes on them. Like it kind of creates the question marks of like, why is the entire Freya Familia like watching this whole situation and protecting her, and why is Belle like doing this whole situation, and everybody else is wondering why, what is this girl and why is she suddenly just showed up out of nowhere and trying to steal Belle away. But yeah, that's kind of the setup of the season so far. I don't want to get any further than that because episode 5 was probably easily the biggest like mind blown moment. I didn't think this writer had it in him, honestly. For the entire like 4 seasons that I've watched of danmachi, it's always been like, here's Belle and he's having fun in the dungeon and he's getting all this harem and Hestia's bestia with the ribbon boob thing and jiggle 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 and brushing teeth dance routine, all that kind of stuff. It's always been kind of silly with like this little subtle feeling of like dread. Like every now and then the characters will get too far down the dungeon, there's some bad situation happening, like Ryu's story. Super heavy stuff happening there. Like her entire old familia being wiped out, all that kind of stuff. But I've never had a sense of like, this series, I've never had a moment where I go, holy crap, I have to think about this. Like, like after watching episode 4, I literally kind of stood back and said, now wait, let me think about this. And I'm thinking back, and I'm thinking back, and I'm thinking about all these moments with these characters and going, no way. So that means this. And then I'm thinking, but who was here? What is this? Like, it really had me. I did a reaction video and I had to stop myself from talking after like 25 minutes of like just, but wait, oh, but wait, this. And like, it was a massive like rug pull. And you can kind of see it coming. There's a rug pull happening and you know it's going to happen, but it's one of those ones where once it happens, it's not so much the twist, but it's more so the ramifications. Like you start to think about the ramifications. What does this mean for this character? What does this mean for this character? What will they do from this point on? It's the question marks of what was and what could possibly be for these characters. I thought that was great. Like I'm still like blown away by it. Like I was doing my tier list here recently, and I'm telling everybody, yeah, I would probably put this for the season, like encompassing the season. I'm like, I could probably put this like an A for the season. Like if you're looking for like the best shows of the season, I'd probably put an A. But 3 and 4, especially 4, bumping up to S. Like this set it aside from like this is easily the best episode of the entire series by far. So I'm like hype. Like I'm so excited to see where the series goes from here, and it does kind of make me want to read it.
I can't force this into the next week.
I'm like, I kind of want to read this now. I don't think I've ever had a desire to read danmachi. Well, I did technically because when season 4 came out, they were saying the author was now involved, and I'm like, it's entertaining now. Like it feels better. Oh, that's because the author's involved. Well, what the hell happened with the previous seasons? It makes me kind of go, so are they just skipping things? And the author finally said, dude, you guys are skipping what makes this great. And now when he's involved, it's suddenly great. So it makes me kind of wonder, like all those previous seasons, was it just they screwed it up and now it's suddenly good? So it makes me want to read it. But yeah, it's been good. It's been super good. Super good. I still love, I still think Lily is best girl. Hestia, obviously, is bestia and always second place. But Freya, man. Freya here recently. My most engagement post I've ever made on X is literally Freya thighs. Like the ED for this season, the ED for this season is literally Freya walking in this massive field. And at the very, very beginning of the ED, it starts with her feet. You see her feet walking. And then it cuts up to her like ankles, and then up to her thighs, and then it goes up to her belly, and then it goes up to her chest, then all the way up to her hair. Like the entire ED is, let's look at each segment one by one as she's walking and she's pulling up her, she's pulling up, Freya, like she's got these little scraps that cover each segment. She's like pulling them up and setting them up, and it's like, that was enough to set off just to set this post off like crazy, but. Yeah, Freya's trying hard to get up on that list. I know. But no, okay. The biggest, and this is going to be kind of spoiler. Hopefully it's not going to upset you too much. The biggest shock for this season was opening up this season, Lily leveling up.
Yeah.
Lily finally leveled up. It is so funny when the season opened up, the first episode, they all have this meeting. Of course, the previous season, crazy stuff happened. Like Lily was actually in the battlefield. She was trying really hard. So it was like opening up the season, and suddenly out of nowhere, Hestia's like, oh, this is for you, Lily. You level up. And Lily's like, huh? You? Who? You leveled up. Really? It was like this big shock moment of like, she's like, who? Me? Really? Yes, I did it. And then she turns to Haruhime and she's like, well, now that Haruhime is, she's the lowest level now, I'll help her out. And then she's like, oh, Haruhime leveled up too. It's like, you should have said something before I said something. It was cute. I like my lady. She's so great. Anyways, it's been great. Fantastic. Looks good. Like, I don't have any problems visually. I think it looks really, really solid. And again, I'm super excited to see where it goes from here. So cool stuff. Cool season so far. That's danmachi season 5.
I can't fit two seasons in one week.
2 seasons in 1 week? You don't have to. It's only 1 season. You said you've already watched all of part 2.
Yeah, but I have to watch all of the season.
This season?
The part that I missed.
I would probably say you only got like maybe like 3 episodes of the previous season to watch. I bet you've watched most of it, and then you have 5 episodes this season, so it's not that bad. Not that bad. Of everything else, just drop Aqua Trip, because apparently you're not supposed to like watching Aqua Trip. Because you're not going to watch Dawn to Dawn, so you might as well watch that instead of Aqua Trip.
Yeah, but I've got to catch up on all the other shows too.
The Healer Party. Healer. But you watched Healer. You watched the Healer who was banished. Of all the shows you can watch, you watched the Healer.
I'm watching the shows that interest me. I'm sorry that it doesn't fit your list.
We all know that whenever a new season comes out, everybody should just be watching the most popular shows, and everything else don't watch it.
Right?
Because you're not supposed to be watching things that people don't want to watch. How dare you? How dare you? Anyways, the Healer who was banished from his party is, in fact, wait for it, the strongest.
Oh, no. He was banished because he sucked.
Because he sucked.
He only could use heal.
He can't even do antidote.
Exactly.
He goes with them to fight a Hydra, and the dude doesn't even have antidote?
Right.
Now, he says he told them, but dude, am I going to take his word over the shining gold armor guy?
Right.
Margulis? I would believe Margulis any day before Loust. What kind of name is... Even his name sounds like lousy. Loust? Anyways, this is Party Kara Suiho Sareta Sono Chiyushi Jitsu wa Saiko ni Suki. Gonna be going for 12 episodes done by Studio Ella. Based on a light novel, obviously, because it has a title that says Banished from a Hero's Party, or Banished from a Party. That's one of those weird things. Is like, this is one of those cases where I'm like, I think right now we're at the point where we're just kind of stretching it. Like, we're just purposely putting the previous party kick out thing in here. Like, because I'm seeing titles lately of adaptations that are coming up where I'm like, you guys are literally just throwing the left the party thing in there. Like, there's no purpose for this to be in the title, but you're putting it in there because, I don't know, there's like a fetish right now in Japan for party kicking out of. Like, is there like some weird fetish that people are like, oh, I got kicked out of the party? Oh. It's like that whole meme where it's like, thighs, no. And then it cuts to the next one, party kicked out. Yeah. Anyways, this one follows Loust. And Loust is like, everybody finds him to be like deplorable. He's the most like useless piece of waste in the world. The entire adventure guild and everybody like outs him because at some point he was in a party and that party was fighting a Hydra and he failed to antidote, even though I think he said that he told them that he can't do antidote.
He can't do antidote, but he
said to bring potions.
He's basically over. Yeah, he said bring potions, but
he's like, why would I do that? You're a healer.
Golden Poop said that he didn't want to buy potions because they cost too much. Yeah. So Loust is trying to basically overheal through the poison is basically what he's doing.
He had to, yeah. But anyways, yeah, I think overall it kind of implies the idea this guy, all he knows is heal. Like, he is a healer that his only ability is heal, which is unheard of because healers are supposed to, if you're going to be competent healer, you need to have other skills, but he's only had heal. Of course, in his past, that led him, he's had issues in the past with that whole situation. He's like overtrained himself because of all these bad problems in parties. Nobody wants to group up with him, that he has like trained up his other skills so that he can survive and everything and be useful. At some point in his past, he even ran across this carriage that was being attacked. He fought to protect them, this one girl that was in the carriage, and he couldn't really do much, but he did hold off the bandits and stuff long enough that, the guards and stuff can get there and save this girl that was there. And she looks up to him, like, incredibly. Jump forward, again, this whole situation with this hero, this party, not hero, I want to say hero party. With this party, with the Hydra and all that kind of stuff happens, everybody detests him, and then suddenly out of nowhere, as he's standing in the middle of this adventure guild with this sign saying wants to party up, and everybody's looking at him like he's a scum of the world, suddenly, finally, Narcina shows up. This cute girl shows up and says, I want to be a part of your party, and everybody's like, excuse me? Somebody wants to party up with Laos, the worst? Even the guild receptionist comes up to her and says, girl, you don't want to party with him. Like this, the guild receptionist who will gain benefit from them partying, and because like they even point out the fact that everything they come in there with that they sell to the guild receptionist, she gets a cut of it. Like even if she'll get gain from it, she's still like, you don't want to party with this guy. He's like literally the worst. He's the worst. And no, this girl's like, no, I want to party with him. And sure enough, they go out and party together. They come to find out when they're partying together, she's really badly wants to be the front line. She really looks up to Laust. You find out later she's the girl from the carriage, and she's always wanted to get stronger so that she can party up with him. But yeah, they'll fight monsters. We end up finding out that yes, he's incredibly powerful because he's always trained himself outside of healing, and he like one-shot something that's about to hurt Narcina. They go back to the guild receptionist, get all their gems in. She makes a cut off of it. She keeps kind of reprimanding him, claiming that he's trying to take her too far down in the dungeon, and he shouldn't because it's going to harm the girl. She's new. And eventually, yes, the biggest plot twist ever for these kicked out of the party stories is what? Eventually, the party realizes that he's really powerful, and so they want him back in the party, and he doesn't want to do it, so all that stuff happens. So, yeah, and every time they go back home to the inn, they get a separate room. She badly wants to have the same room as him, and she just sits there and squeezes in the other room, wanting to be in the room with him, because she's just dead set on him. So what's your thoughts?
They want to get a house, too.
That's true.
She's going to have a love nest with him.
Wants a love nest. Doki doki. I thought by now, well, I've only watched up to the part where the other party got a new healer, and they realized at that point that he's incredibly powerful because like he was holding the front line. He cut off one of the Hydra's head, and it hasn't grown back. So they're obviously realizing that this dude's OP. They tried to recruit him again, failed to do that, but then they got this other dude that ended up joining them that the healer knows, and they're going off to fight the Hydra again, while Laust and Narcina are going to do something else. That's about as far as I got. I'm not sure if there's anything else after that.
You're an episode up on me.
So, yeah, I am like mixed on it. Like, I want to hear your thoughts on it, honestly.
Not solid on the character side, and I'm not really feeling the world building side. So I'm kind of mixed as well. I do like Narcina. Laust is kind of cool. I do kind of like a couple of the characters in the quote unquote heroes party, if you want to call them that. But in all actuality, I mean, I like it just fine. I kind of want to get a little bit deeper into the story itself. All in all, visual wise, I'm not too impressed with it. It is just maintaining right now for me. I'm enjoying it for what it is.
That's kind of where my struggle I have is it's almost the same struggle I had with that. And you continued watching it, so you had a better perspective on it than I did at the time. But it kind of reminds me of like that the guy that was a general of the Demon Lord's army, and he got kicked out of it because they discovered that he was actually human, and he started like living amongst the humans just outside of there, and he comes to find out that he's human because he ends up going through that whole adventure. There's like this trial thing for the adventure guild where you had to like, do this ritual, and if you were a demon, it would kill you. And so that's how he finds out that he's actually human. It was kind of like that, where it's like, it just felt like it was checking all the boxes. This show literally is that, like, 100%. Like, it's just literally, I almost feel like this show is just checking the boxes. We have the character that everybody thinks is the weakest, but he's actually OP. He He got kicked out of the party, but then the party finds out that he's actually OP, and then they want him after that. There's the girl that he saved that's completely devoted to him. It feels like it's checking all the boxes without really kind of doing enough that makes it feel like it's doing something different than anything else. I will agree with you. I think the only thing that's really kind of working for me is I kind of like Narcina. Like she's got a good spunk to her. She's very cute. I'm curious how long they're going to drag out that whole scenario where essentially him saving her kind of inspired himself to keep going, whereas him saving her inspired her to become an adventurer, and that's why she's adventuring with him, but she doesn't seem to want to tell her.
Yeah. They haven't put two and two together yet.
And then it was so funny because at some point she goes into her room and she's like, he didn't recognize me. Granted, I am a little bit older now, and I did change the haircut, my color of my hair, and this and this, and it's like, he doesn't recognize me, but I did change everything about me, so I guess that makes sense. It's like the stupidest things, like even going so far as, why is your hair color different? Like, why is that a thing? Like, you went out of your way and dyed your hair color? Like, it didn't even imply what happened with her hair. It's just, yeah, my hair color's different. It used to be blonde, I think it was, or brown.
Yeah,
now it's blue.
She was pretty much a ringlets.
Why is it blue? Are we going to answer that question? Why did you go out of your way to make it blue? I would assume she's trying to hide her identity as being like I think she's like
pretty much royalty.
Yeah, because they had like the whole like Knight's Order coming in there to save her and everything. It's dorky. I'm assuming she's running from something. Maybe even that guy that joined. I don't know why he would join the other guy's party. He's probably from royal family. He's going to notice her. I don't know. It's dorky, but like I said, it's very by the books. Every now and then it does something that is kind of funny, like the idea of having this guild receptionist literally constantly getting onto him. At the same time, she's over here just mad greeting over like all the cuts that she's making from this party. Like every time Laust and Narcina comes back, she's just making bogus of money from them. So it's like that kind of conflict there of like she wants him to take care of Narcina, but at the same time she's like, oh crap, you made some more money. Nice. Let me go ahead and do an exchange on that. It's stupid. I don't know. And then they kind of implying the idea that the guild manager guy knows Laust. I'm guessing that's probably going to go into like more history of Laust kind of being a failure in most of his parties. Like some parties, they literally just threw him out there to be bait for the monsters while they stole stuff, and then they get killed because the monsters lost interest in him, wouldn't kill them. It's like that's my biggest problem is like amongst the entire season, this is kind of one of those ones where it's like you're not doing anything. So I don't know. This will probably one of my drops for the season, just so I can have more time to do some other stuff, just because I don't feel like it's doing enough outside of the usual. And I agree, it's not horrible looking, but it's not really kind of doing anything great. Like I think it's probably like a 6 visually, like 5 or 6. Like it's just enough. There's a few wonky points in here, especially Magalus. At least they're not making Magalus CGI like most suits of armor characters, but he's probably the most wonky. Most like when he was in the reception hall and Laos was there and he was trying to recruit Laos and fails that, and then gets this other guy. Like at the time, it's like suddenly out of nowhere, his limbs just kind of keep shrinking and getting bigger. It's like this dude looks so bony. Maybe they were going for that though.
I'm still trying to figure out what the heck is with the axe that keeps falling on dude's foot.
That joke was funny like the first few times they did it.
Yeah.
Then after that, I'm like, here comes. Yeah, that's. You're gonna have to get a new joke. Like it was funny the first 2 times.
Get better grip on your axe.
The first time it was like because Narcina asked to join Laust, and that was shocking. So he dropped his axe. I'm like, oh, that's funny because they're talking, and you can see this guy hopping around the background. And I was like, that's kind of a cute little thing they did there. And then the second time it happened, which was, what was the second time? Because the third time was with Magalus asking him again.
Maybe something having to do with the receptionist getting onto him.
Something like that. But then, yeah, there was a second time.
To cut the tension, and then Laos, or then Magalus when he was trying to.
It was probably the flashback to when Magalus first asked Laos to join his party. It was probably that. But like again, the second time it happened, it was like, oh, it did it again. But it wasn't as funny. And then like the third time, it's like, okay, it's not that great. Anyways. That dude is not a good adventurer if he keeps dropping his axe like that all the time. He's probably got like he's probably rolling ones.
Yeah, anytime something intense happens, he just drops his axe.
Yeah, if he's in a party, he's rolling ones all the time. That's what it is. So, anything else on that one? The healer who was banished from his party and was actually OP. I mean, I haven't quite gotten what really makes him OP, so I guess that's kind of a good thing. But he did kind of like take a knife and just completely one-shot some monster that Norsenna wasn't able to beat. So, I mean, even as a healer, it implies this dude is obviously a cut above like most healers that would be like backline and very weak, but it's alright. It's alright. 365 days to the wedding. You said you haven't gotten a shot at this one yet, right? This one is Kekon Surute Honto desu ka? And this one is done by Ashi Productions. Sources of manga. Genres are romance. And this one, of course, the creator of this one. This was okay. That was the reason. There was one of these shows in the list where I'm like, I think it was one of the ones where I was trying to nudge you towards it, and I forgot it was this one because it was by the creator did World God Only Knows. But anyways, this one follows Takuya, and he is working at this kind of like it's like at this office. There's a name for it. Tourist kind of office where they kind of set you up for going to locations and everything like that for travel and whatnot, a travel agency. And Takuya working there, and at some point he is called into this big meeting, and the manager of the place is like, hey, the big wigs, they're thinking of opening up a location in, I think it was Alaska, like way overseas. And we're going to send some individuals over there to work there. Now, the only thing that we're probably going to we're definitely going to prioritize people that are single. So we don't want to break up families or whatever. So, well, Takuya's like, crap, that's not good. I don't want to leave here. He really likes his cat. Like, he just spends most of his days at home whenever he's not working, just spending time at home, chilling with his cat. He's like, I can't leave my cat. They won't let me bring my cat with me. This is not good. At some point, when he's walking to this park, he ends up bumping into Rika, who is a coworker of his. And this is a girl at his work that he thinks she hates his guts, because every time he bumps into her, she gives him like these glare looks. Every now and then he'll look over to her, and she's looking at him, and she's got these like this mean look going on. So he thinks that she just hates him or finds him very troublesome. Well, no, she just speaks up and says, "Hey, you know, what are you doing?" He said, yeah, I'm planning on, he actually was saying his goodbyes that moment. He's like, you know, look, it was good working with you, but I'm actually planning on quitting. She's like, what, are you quitting? Yeah, I can't do this. I can't go there and go overseas. I gotta be here with my cat. So I'm probably looking for another job. And so she says, well, okay, how about this? Let's get married. Let's get engaged. He's like, what do you talk about? If we actually fake that we're engaged, then we can get past this. So we'll tell everybody. I'll handle everything. Like, she even has she like goes through a whole plan in her mind. Like, she's like, I'll handle everything. We're gonna make it look like we're married. I'll talk to the manager, let her know. That way they can basically take us and bump us down the list for priority because we're married and everything. And he agrees to it. Cut the next day. Yep, they go before the manager, let her know. She's beside herself with happiness because she obviously cares for the two of them. She's like super happy that they're getting married. She's like, I never thought I would see it happen. You two just look like you would never do something like that, especially like Takuya, because he's so like, you know, he has trouble with communicating. And so, yeah, cut forward. She even throws an entire party for them, like gets the entire workplace at a bar together just to celebrate it. And then the manager even talks to this other lady, and she's like, I know their secret. I know that they're hiding something. Like, it gives you that sense of like, oh crap, does she know they're faking it? And she's trying to get them to admit it. She got a bun in the oven. That's why they're getting married out of nowhere. They got a bun in the oven. It's so dorky. But yeah, like, just this kind of proceeds as the two of them are kind of struggling with kind of hiding the fact that they're lying. At the same time as they're having to be forced to be together and act like a couple. Obviously, question marks start to come up of like, you know, what does it mean to be married? Hey, I kind of like this feeling of being together with somebody. Does that person actually like me? Those question marks start flying up. Some of the other coworkers even ask them for advice because they're trying to get romantic with somebody. So they're asking Takuya, like, what'd you do?
They're doing BS answers.
Yeah, they're kind of having to wing it because, like, I don't know. But yeah, that all leads to, yes, at one point, Takuya gets a phone call. And it's from an unknown number. And the person says, in like some jarbled, altered voice. I know your secret. And starts to kind of harass him in certain ways. Like at some point, he even has to go back home because somehow word got back to his hometown that he's getting married. And so they want to like throw him a whole party and everything. And he needs to go there. And at some point he gets a phone, or she gets a phone call that says, you're going with him. That same voice. And it's like, okay, somebody knows their secret and is manipulating things for background. I think it's a sister. But anyways, yeah, that's the setup so far. And my thoughts. This is kind of one of those shows where the first 2 episodes I was feeling it. Like I'm like, hey, I might actually really like this, because what you get a sense of really early on is the 2 of them are just not social. She's like, her entire life she's a map geek. Like she just loves maps. And it gets into her past where, yeah, her father wasn't there. Her mother was always traveling around. And so she would used to get maps, and she'd look on the map where her mother was at the time. And she would just kind of envision that she was at that location with her mother, looking at the scenery or whatever. And so she loves maps. And so whenever she's at home, she's got a map out. She's literally on top of it. And she's just going like, ooh, this right here. She's a total dork about that. She also likes to kind of travel beaches and stuff like that and look for rocks. That's her thing. She's not very social like a lot of other people. She doesn't kind of come across to people properly. Him, yeah, he has a problem with overthinking conversations. So when somebody comes up to him and like, you know, is talking to him, it almost feels like he's being berated because he can't think fast enough to respond to them, and they find that off-putting. So you have 2 individuals that just aren't very good at communicating. They're not very social individuals, or they're social awkwards. And they're kind of being forced to come together. They're kind of getting out of their comfort zone and being forced to be social and be together with somebody else. So I almost felt like it was going to be one of those things where pushing 2 introverts essentially to have to find out how to communicate and how to form a bond with somebody. And I thought it was really cute for that. Like they had this whole segment where she's literally going on a fake date to investigate how to form the moment that they actually confess their love. So she's making up that marriage proposal date that they had at this one location. And eventually he comes there and helps her out, and they end up on a Ferris wheel. She gives him a fake ring. She's like, oh, I bought these 2 here. This one's yours. Think of what you would have said to me when you proposed. And he feels the weight of that moment. Like, now I want to think about that. Like he suddenly realizes I can't just make this up because it would seem like it would be something important. So it's a lot about them discovering how to be social, discovering what love is, and discovering what relationship is through this fake marriage. And again, I was like, this works. I actually really like this. These 2 characters are kind of cool. Like he seems like a cool guy. She's super cute. This can work. And then like it gets the father getting involved, them going over to their house and all that kind of stuff. It was fine. I think the visit at the hometown was cute, especially with the mother. But I don't know, like at some point it started to kind of lose me because it became less about them and more about the surrounding characters that weren't very interesting. And most characters that they would bring up, like the father or Hiromi, one of the co-workers, they would bring them in the picture and I would quickly lose interest in them. They were good, solid setups. Like the father's initial introduction was solid, but then over time I just kind of got tired of it. So I don't know, it's kind of one of those ones where I'm definitely going to keep going with it, but at the same time, it loses me half the time. Like it has a good solid setup, and then it would always lose me at some point. And so I'm not sure which now that I realize it with like World God Only Knows, that was kind of the same scenario I had with that. Same scenario I had with 13-Bit Sensation. They always start really good, and then at some point it loses me. So I don't know, maybe this is kind of just me with this creator. Personally, I just, for some reason, always kind of lose this creator at some point, or maybe it'll pick back up. But it's got promise, but at the same time, it's failing to keep my interest. So we'll see. But that's 365 days to the wedding. What is next, Chris? Oh, you're not peeking the list this time. He usually peeks the list. He did one time. The Do-Over Damsel. The Do-Over Damsel. That's good that you watched that one, because the Do-Over Damsel is kind of one of those cases where That's not what I wanted. Do Over Damsel is kind of one of those ones where I'm very mixed on. I was very mixed on it when I did my tier list as well. So hopefully you can carry this one a little bit. Carry it. Do Over Damsel or Yari na Oshi Reija wa Ryute Heika wo Kuryakushu. Jeez. This was streaming on Crunchyroll, running for 12 episodes, done by JC Staff. Source is a light novel. Fantasy, romance are the genres. And this one is done by the creator who did Taming the Final Boss. So that was actually a good show, but over time it lost me. Because that was the one that had the 2 arcs. And the first arc I really, really liked. It was the villainess that was going to get killed, and so she decided to go over and propose to the bad guy. That one started really good, but that one lost me with that second arc. The whole, like, her going undercover at the other school and all that crap, because it was like a sequel visual novel or something like that for it. Anyways, this one opens up with Jill Seville, and the opening of the show, she is adult, much older, and she's being chased down by... I forgot about that. She's being chased down by her husband, the prince of the I think at that time probably the king, but he's chasing her down and killing her. And then we jump back to before she basically before he proposed to her, which is where she was going to this ball, and this is where this Gerald de Kletos, this prince, would see her and fall in love with her at first sight. And so she immediately realized at that point, I have to get away from this guy. I cannot let him see me, otherwise he'll propose to me, and then he's going to eventually kill me. What we get a glimpse of is that after she's proposed to by him, they'll become engaged, and at some point, she accidentally seen that he was in a relationship with his sister. And that's where it all
totally
kind of goes downhill from there.
Totally not the Lannisters.
It felt like a Lannister moment. So yeah, she knows that he's a total siscon, so she wants to stay hell away from this guy. So as she's trying to avoid him at the ball, eventually she just desperately, because he's chasing her down once the moment he sees her. He's chasing her down through this ball. Eventually she's like, I'm sorry, I'm in love with this guy that's behind me. And then this guy stands up from behind her, and it turns out to be Hades Rev, which he's like this really nasty dude who's like in the future leads this big army that comes in and kills a bunch of people. Like, he is like a really evil dude. And so he's overjoyed by the fact that she just proposed to him, because we find out about why that is later on. So you have literally Gerald de Kletos, who's this prince. He's siscon, so he's in love with his sister, and eventually she's going to spot that, and that'll lead to his death. And then now you have her bumping into this guy who literally has been looking for a girl that's under 14 years old. He's had girls that have proposed to him before, but they weren't under 14. No, he needs somebody that's under 14. They imply later on that's a prophecy, so there's a reason for that. Anyways, yeah, she ends up passing out. Cut to her waking up, and Hades is taking care of her, and then suddenly the prince comes barging in, and he's like, no, you can't take Jill away from me. I'm in love with her. I'm gonna marry her. And he's like, no, she just proposed to me. She's my wife. She's my fiance. So cut forward, they leave the continent to go back to his homeland. On the way, they get attacked, and Jill, being that she has all the powers from her previous life, she's like literally just wrecks everything that comes after them. She ends up kind of discovering that, yes, she does admit to him that I don't actually like you. I just said that to get away from this prince. That breaks his heart because he thought that it was love at first sight, and he's always been looking forward to this, and he thinks that she's super cute. She's actually special in the idea that she can see the dragon that is on his shoulder, because apparently like this other girl actually loves him, but she never seen the dragon. But I guess again the prophecy is that they need to see his dragon, so that's kind of a big deal. She eventually decides that she's going to stay with him and see if she can make it work out. And so she goes back to his place. They started getting into a bunch of espionage stuff where people are trying to take him down because he was assigned to become the next prince after this like tragedy befell anybody that was going to be in line for the throne. Like everybody that was in line for the throne ended up dead all the way up until the point where he took the throne, and then the death stopped happening. So everybody believes he's like this death prince or he has a curse upon him or something like that. So, yeah. And then I seen the part where she ends up seeing that they're going to enact this thing where it's going to... There was this... In the previous life, there was a story of this, like, murderous... The girl that was trying to get with Hades. There was a story that she went around and murdered a bunch of people. And so she's basically seen that firsthand, the idea that, yes, big shocker, somebody else is killing everybody, and they're going to pin it on her. So she's going to try to undo that, so... As far as I got, she ran into Camilla and Sieg, who I believe are like some people that she knew from previous life that were like really close friends of hers or something, or comrades. That's as far as I got. So, what's your thought on? I avoided my Siscon Prince husband and decided to marry instead the villain, who is a lolicon with a dragon. Lolicon with a dragon.
Want to see my dragon?
Is this like yeah, could you see my dragon? Do you see my dragon? This is one of those ones where I don't realize how inappropriate the storyline is until I actually have to explain it. Like, yeah, we have the Lannisters over here. She's trying to get the hell away from that, and this guy wants to show her a dragon, and he's happy that she's not 14 yet.
And
she's technically not 14.
And he wants to make her treats.
He's really into making her treats. He wants to give her tons of biscuits.
Oh. I like the concept of the story. There's something I'm just gonna say I don't like Hades.
Thank you.
He's the biggest girl in the world.
Thank you. I was talking about that with my tier list too. I'm like, I think what it comes down to is I just don't care for the dude. I mean, he's a goofball at times, and I like her. I like Jill. I think she's great, I just don't like this dude. I don't.
But I think that's really my biggest problem with the show. Other than that, it's generally a cool story. I think it's fairly interesting. I do want to see the kind of the extensions of a lot of these stories, especially what they're doing with the girl that Andrew was mentioning, where they're pretty much pinning all these deaths on her. I think that's a very fascinating story. I really do kind of would like to see the background of why Hades does eventually become this mass murderer. I think that they're doing pretty solid at showing that there is just a game being played around these characters and trying to manipulate the situations into making it seem one thing where it's something else that's actually going on. So I'm very fascinated by that, and I would really like to see what's going on with it.
Yeah, did they pronounce it Hades? I forget it. Hades sounds better than Hades. I doubt they say Hades. The main dude, Ravu. I can't call him Rav because the dragon's called Ravu or whatever. But I agree. I don't much care for him, and I think that was the original reason why I wasn't caring for this show. And it does kind of play heavily on what a lot of these second chance type stories do. Even if it's not a villainous story, it's just that second chance concept where they end up with the guy that at some point, how did they end up as a bloodthirsty villain? Like, what caused that? It's kind of going that whole route, and especially since he's such an absolute goofball, yeah, it's a massive question mark at this point of like, what the hell? How do we get to here? This dude's over here is obsessed with making. My assumption right now is just really that nobody cares for him. Everybody hates him. They all think he's a stain, he's a curse. And now finally she's accepted him. That's why he's so like super doty. He's like, oh, finally somebody that likes me. Like she literally confessed it to me in that ballroom. He's overjoyed. And yeah, that's kind of what kind of drags her into the situation is like, okay, he seems really happy that I like him. And if I don't really go with him, the alternative is getting stuck with the Siscon dude that's going to hunt me down to kill me.
Who knows? Maybe we can redo this entire thing again, and we just choose not to choose either of them. So,
yeah, just don't go in the ballroom. Just don't go in the ballroom. There's the other question mark is why did Gerald choose her? That's a good question mark as well. Like, he becomes super obsessed with her. Has to be her. When in the end, he just needs somebody to be a proxy while he's, again, banging his sister. That was like the other question mark is like, who's this fetish girl? Is she like into this? Is she like just mindless and he's just like just in love with her? Or is she into it too? Is she going to become like an adversary later on as well? I don't know. But,
You took away my blocker.
Yeah. I needed you to play proxy, please. I'm into my brother. He's so cute, isn't he? He's a nut job too. My gosh, that whole scene with it in that bedroom when he comes barging in and he's just like obsessed with having to have Jill. It's like, dude, you literally just seen her like once. And why are you acting so? That's what I mean. Why Jill? It's like, why, after glancing at her, are you going to go that far to barge into a bedroom and demand her from this dude? It's obvious that she's maybe something from a bloodline or something like that. I don't know, but again, it's one of those shows where it's got a decent start. My biggest problem, like I said before, is Hades. Like, and now he hasn't been like. It's not like he's like a character that's constantly frontline, but yeah, like he keeps showing up with food so far.
Yeah, he's not prominent enough to destroy the entire show. He's
it's
there.
Mostly her being a badass, basically. She's just running around being a badass.
It's mostly her doing her thing, and then every once in a while we go back to him, and he's cooking a cake. Oh, maybe I should think about her feelings. Blah 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 blah. And all, like I said, he's an absolute woman.
It kind of reminds me of that one show a few seasons ago where it's got that whole idea of her going off and being married to the villain guy of this country that she knows eventually will kill everybody. And where, again, with that one, it's really just mostly her behind the scenes trying to prevent that from happening. If she recalls anything from her last timeline where, okay, maybe this corrupted him. Maybe this person doing this set a bad example for him. Maybe this person dying broke his heart enough that he went down that bad road. Keep that stuff from happening so that they don't become a bad guy. I'm assuming that's the direction it's going. So we'll see. It's tight. It's like, I'll probably keep watching it. I'm always I think that her herself is enough. Like she's a fun character. And that was the same thing I had with Taming the Final Boss. I really like the main character to that one. So it's kind of the same case with this one. So we'll see. Anything else on Do Over Damsel? No? Yeah?
Should have made him into a girl and then just turned it into a Yuri. Would have been better.
Maybe he will end up being a girl in the end. The dragon just turns, slop it off. We're good. Let's go on to Kinokoinu or Mushroom Pup. This one is streaming on Crunchyroll, run for 12 episodes, done by C Station. It's based on a manga. Genres are slice of life. I'm not going to spend too much on this one because it's not really much to talk about. But anyways, it follows a guy that's Hotaro. He's an author. And at some point in his past, he lost his parents. And about the same time that he lost his parents, he had a dog. And that dog basically became like the replacement family for him. He was at a massive tragic loss of his parents. And that dog just became his everything. And yes, as any dog owner would know, eventually dogs get old. They get very slow, and then eventually, unfortunately, the dog's going to pass away. Now that he lost his dog, after losing his family, it's basically him losing his family entirely at that point. He's extremely depressed at that point. But then he notices a odd mushroom appear in his garden, and eventually one day that mushroom blooms into a mushroom dog, and that mushroom dog starts to hang out with him. At first, she's like, "Are you my dog? Like, are you like a reincarnation of my dog?" And the thing's like, "No, I'm not your dog." But yeah, he's taking care of the dog. Eventually, we get to meet I think it's his editor or something like that. It's Komako. She's been for the longest time trying to get him back up on his feet, trying to cheer him up, get him moving forward again. He stopped writing. He's just basically in a massive rut. But like slowly over time, what happens is like every time that he kind of gets stuck in a moment where he's kind of recalling back to his dog or his family, this little mushroom pup's kind of giving that little nudge. Like even gets to this point where he keeps this collar from his dog. And then one day he wakes up and the mushroom pup's out in his yard burning the collar. Like the mushroom pup's basically just trying to say, you need to move on. And you holding on to this collar, you keep thinking about that dog. You need to move on with your life kind of thing. And so he at first is like panicking, but then he kind of goes, you know, I probably need to do that. Thank you, little mushroom dog. And the mushroom dog goes back to being a mushroom again. Then it pops back up later. But yeah, at some point, his editor girl, she's like setting him up for like interviews and photo shoots and brings this like super hyper fan to come see him that's super into him. That's about as far as I've gotten so far. This is kind of one of those shows where I figure you can watch something like this and getting a little bit of, relating to the struggles and whatnot he's kind of going through. And then you'll have those heartfelt moments that really kind of make you go, aw, and everything. But in the end, what I kind of found with this show, and the best way I can put it, is that it's sort of like it's stuck so much in the trauma, which is fine. Because I think there's a lot of healing and relatability that can come with stories that have loss and somebody struggling with that loss and trying to overcome that loss, having those heartfelt moments where the character overcomes things. But I feel like everything outside of that loss and that struggle that he's having is just kind of boring. Like I figured this is going to be one of those shows where it's just like, it's just wholesome. Like it's just boring, wholesome kind of stuff. And for that reason, it's not working for me. Like this show just doesn't have any entertainment value outside of the tragedy of loss and overcoming that loss. Like it's not funny. It's not entertaining. It's not creative with the writing. The character interactions are very boring. Very little chemistry between the characters. There's a little bit of like a silliness. The idea that the editor lady's like super into him and he just doesn't know it. And she's constantly trying to push him forward and he just doesn't know it. None of the chemistry works. None of the writing is really well done. It's just mostly just kind of trauma, and that's fine. But I typically need something with the trauma to offset it. In the end, it just kind of feels depressing watching this show. It's like it's not entertaining whatsoever. It doesn't feel like it is saying something, and that is again finding ways to step forward. Like I tell most people, there's never a fixed way to overcome loss. Everybody has a different way of overcoming loss. Like even when the mushroom pup is burning the collar, I think to myself, that's not really a way of helping somebody move on. That's more forcing somebody to accept loss. And sometimes that could be taken wrong. But for his situation, burning the collar helped him. He's like, yeah, I probably should have done that. I'm looking at that thing too much. I need to throw it away. But again, it's overall just kind of boring. I guess that's my final on it. So overall, it's just kind of boring. So I think some people can probably find this show to be very therapeutic. And so I can suggest it if you're looking for something like this, but it's just not working for me. So that's Mushroom Pup. That's Fungus Dog. Let's call it Fungus Dog. What's next? Let's do negative positive angler first. I'm gonna do negative positive angler, Negapose, as they call it, which I think is a terrible name. That was like one of those ones where I didn't realize until I say it.
It was the worst song.
Negapose angler, negative positive angler. This one is done by, it's being done by Crunchyroll. It's on Crunchyroll. It's being done by Studio Nut. It's an original that's being wrote by the guy that helped with script work with Aka 13, One Punch Man, and Tiger and Bunny. This one opens up with Tsunehiro Sasaki, and in the opening segment of it, we open up right off the bat. He's in his apartment. He's got tons of bills in his mailbox. He's in massive amount of debts, and he's given up. He's like even talking about the fact that he's tried several things and failed. In the opening sequence, he's literally trying to throw a rope around his neck. I'll just leave it at that. Well, cut forward, he realizes after he fails again that he has an appointment at the doctor. He goes to the doctor, come to find out he's got his brain scans in, and yeah, he ain't got but 2 years left. At most, you got about 2 years left. You might not want to start looking into treatment processes and everything, set your stuff in order. After this, leaving the hospital, he's like, well, I only got 2 years left. Might as well live it up however I can. But he can't do that because now debt collectors are after him. Like, all these people that he took money from before, they're all wanting their money back. So these last 2 years of his life are probably miserable. He ends up falling off a bridge, ends up getting saved by a group of fishermen. They took their boat over there and kind of fished him in. And they bring him out to this breakwater. And when he finally regains consciousness, he's stuck on the breakwater until they finish. And while he's stuck there, they decide to, offer him, hey, you want to learn how to fish? Try fishing. And he's like, no, I don't want to fish. I don't even know how you guys find this stuff entertaining. Eventually, they rope him into it. He tries fishing. He actually catches a fish. Still thinks it's boring. At some point, the debt collectors even get on a ship to come get him, but then they contact the captain to have him take the boat back. All leading up, when they get back to the town, it seemed like he had an okay time out there. Not like he's into fishing or anything like that, but it was okay. They take him back to his apartment. His apartment's gone. A lot of those little letters that he had was actually eviction notices. They were telling him, hey, you need to get out of here. So yeah, now he doesn't have a place to live, but Takaki, who was one of the guys that was fishing with him, offers him a place to stay and everything. What kind of precedes this is he ends up getting roped into working at the place that they all work at, which is like this little convenience store. And then every now and then they'll take him out to go fishing. Like in one of the earlier moments, when he's doing the interview for the job, they're like, do you like fishing? And he's like, no, actually, I don't like fishing. And then like, oh crap, is that going to make the guy mad? And he's like, that's great, because now we can all go fishing while you watch the store. Like, he's okay with the idea of this guy not liking fishing, because then we don't have to worry about having to figure out who stays behind to watch the store. But then that kind of triggers Hana, who's one of the members of the group, to literally drag him out there to try to show him how great fishing is. And it kind of makes him change his mind. He kind of likes it, which totally excites her. So, and then we got a little bit of backstory about how he got to the bad position that he is. And that's the fact that his own fault. At some point when he was in college, life was looking up. He felt like he was going to be in the upper echelon. He was going to have a good job and everything like that. He was actually trying to get in crypto. He was doing a lot of stock tradings and crypto, and at some point it plummeted and he lost all of his money. He tried to get back into it by borrowing money. That didn't work. And so that's why he's in the position that he is now, that everything kind of just sucks. He's in massive debt and he's going to die soon. So that's set up so far. That's the show so far. My thoughts on it so far. I don't want to oversell the show, but I am really enjoying it. I think this has a solid setup so far. I think the cast so far is pretty decent. I think Hana is great. She kind of reminds me of Edis all the time. Like, for some reason, I think I've checked her Seiyu like 3 times to make sure it's not like Edis' Seiyu. That's what's triggering it. I think that she's got like that no nonsense kind of mentality. Like, it's just, hey, you like this? Want to try it? Try it. What do you mean you could say that it's not fun? You haven't even tried it. Like, she just has this like, just do it kind of attitude. And it reminds me a lot of Edis. She's great so far. Takaki's just a cool dude. Like, he's just a cool bro that obviously sees that he's in a bad place and just kind of giving him that little hand, just kind of being there for the guy. They haven't quite got into much of the other characters. Like, they all have their own reasons for fishing, even though fishing is time consuming. You don't make money from it. It's just a hobby kind of thing. Kazue, one of the other girls in the group, she helps him set up for fishing one time. Don't really know much about her. But we so far really just gotten to the main 3 characters. It's got a decent chemistry happening with them so far, but haven't got enough time to really set into it. Most of this setup so far with the episodes that I've seen is Tsunehiro, what situation he's in, losing all hope in life, being presented with a possible thing that can change it up, give him something to spark something in his life, but it's not really something he's excited for. Like, it's a possibility presented to him. And I'll be curious to see if that ends up being a thing where he discovers, I guess that's actually the good thing. Like, because I was kind of there was an expectation with the first episode. Like, you have this guy that has nothing. He's got 2 years left to live. He's dying. And then suddenly he goes out in the middle of nowhere and people are fishing and you're like, oh, don't tell me he's going to catch a fish and suddenly,
right.
there it is. There is a thing that changes his life. Everything is fixed suddenly. No, he's like, no, it's still kind of boring. And then suddenly you have this massive school of fish that are building up, and they're like, oh man, you're super lucky. Keep throwing your reel in there. This is a rare thing, having a massive school in there. And he's like, okay. And he keeps throwing it in there. And they're like, afterwards, man, that was crazy. We're so lucky. Did you have fun? I guess. There's not like a fix. And I like that. I think it's like, it's kind of bold to have a character that's just literally like, no, I'm not really into your fishing. What next? So I'll be curious if it ends up turning into a thing where eventually he finds joy in fishing. Is it a slow burn into it? Or is it just simply him having comrades? I think that's probably where it's going to end up going, is this idea of just him having people around him, giving him a new, not really a new purpose in life, but more so just a different view of life. Here from this angle, just camaraderie. Now, obviously the big question that I've had, I think from the very beginning, since we watched the synopsis, really is what it was, or watched it, read it. What are they going to do with the death part? I have a thought process where I hope they don't do it, but I don't think he has a tumor. Like, they showed the pictures of his brain scans, and he's got 2 pretty dang large tumors. I think they were tumors. He should have headaches. And it hasn't indicated that he has any headaches or anything like that. It could be in a spot where there's not as many nerves. Maybe the nerves are dead. Something. The brain is a complex freaking thing. But I'm like, he should have at least headaches. And he has never indicated that he has headaches or anything. So I'm like, I wonder if it's going to be turning... The brain scan says his name on it. Like, in the corner, it says his name. So unless they typed in the computer when somebody else went in there and somebody else got that wrapped up, that is a massive mistake for a hospital to do. Like, a massive mistake. I don't see how anybody else... It's got to be his charts. It could be somebody else's, and I would really hate if it turns into something like that. Like, it's a total fake-out death thing, and it turns into more of a thing of, through the fear of death, he finds purpose. Like, he need that death scare to fix his life kind of thing. They could do that. The other direction I think it's probably going to end up going, and it's sort of hinted at it already, I think it's going to go down the route where I think everybody in that group probably, or at least somebody in that group, is terminal. They sort of indicate that Takaki, the guy in the group, he has dealt with death in the past. Dealt with death in the past. I think Hana's going to be terminal. I just have a feeling of all the members of the group, I think it's going to be Hana. I think she's probably going to be like the thing that's actually going to be like something to parallel with him. But that was my initial impression, was it was going to be Hana. Or my initial impression was watch this entire group be people that are all like dealing with something like a cancer or something. But that would be like a stretch to have all these individuals all coming together at this convenience store that are all dying. I thought it was going to be Hana at first, and then now seeing Takaki and his history, it seemed like he has a brother or something that possibly died. Because Tsunehiro said something about not really caring much about life, and he's like, don't say that. Like, he just snaps at it, like, don't say that, dude. That's not funny. So, I don't know. There's a side of me that almost kind of goes, please don't do the fake out. Like, if you're going to set this up like this, have the dude die at the end. Like, just don't do this fake out thing. It could turn into a thing where, yes, these doctors don't, in a lot of cases, most cases, they don't know. They're giving you a bracket. So saying 2 years, it could take 5 years. They can set an expiration date, but it's never like, yeah, on this date of 2029, you're going to die. Like, that's it. Bam, you just die. So maybe it's just an aspect where it doesn't spread as much as they think it's going to. That kind of thing. So I'll be curious to see how it plays out. So far, though, I think it's visually solid. The music's fantastic. The music's it sets the tone so perfectly well. Like, whoever's doing the music is just phenomenal. It's got a solid setup so far. I'm curious to see where it's going. It's not, despite the subject matter, it's not as heavy as I thought it was going to be. Like, it does really feel like he gets swept up in the moment really, really quickly, so he can't really set in it too much. And I think that's probably what it's going for. It's the idea that the setup is that he's in a bad spot. Then very immediately, the debt collectors chase him, and then it starts to kind of have fun after that. It's really just he's not let to sit there in it. And I think that's what's kind of going to help him going forward, is just that the fact that, you know, Takaki and all of them is going to be like constantly telling the move. So we'll see. It's a solid setup so far. I'm looking forward to more. The only thing I don't like is that, yes, the Gyaru, Ice, and this other dude look really weird. Like, you've seen it before, right? I'm guessing. They like, all the characters have like a similar style, and then suddenly out of nowhere you have this Gyaru who looks like she's out of Looney Tunes. And this other guy looks like he's out of an old like anime.
Oh, is that the one that we were constantly going on about? I didn't like the way it looked. I don't know.
I don't think we've seen these characters in the PV though. I don't know. There's a lot of shows where I don't like how it looks. There's a lot that doesn't narrow it down very well. Anyways, that's negative, positive. Angler. Let's go on to, was it Puniru? Is Puniru next? Puniru is a Kawaii Slimu. Puniru. Whoever knows that song, please tell me. I'm driving me nuts trying to realize what that song is. Puniru is a Kawaii Slimu. I didn't give it to you. Definitely a show that I was looking forward to coming in this season. I was getting some Hara and Goo vibes. I'd be curious to see. Did you get the vibe? Did you feel it?
Yes, to a point.
I'm kind of in the same boat. Like at times it feels like it. Like especially when she gets all up in his face. She's like, "What are you doing? Call me Kawaii. Call me Kawaii." Anyways, Puniru is a Kawaii Slimu. Puniru wa Kawaii Slimu. This one is streaming on Crunchyroll for 12 episodes, done by Studio Toho Animation Studio, based on a manga. Comedy, fantasy, romance, slice of life is the genres. And this one opens up with Kotaro Kawaii. And when he was very young, he was watching like this kids network, and they're like, "Oh, now it's time for us to make some slime together. Kids got all your stuff?" And he's like, "Yeah." He runs over there and he grabs all the ingredients to make his slime, and he puts all the stuff together, and he's making his slime. And then suddenly he goes to get something else because they were like, throwing some ingredients like some glitter and stuff like that, and you can make glittery slime. So he's going to grab his stuff, and as he's walking back, he trips and drops like this drawing that he made of some character and a bunch of stuff onto the slime, and zap, like Powerpuff Girls action here. Suddenly it turns into this like penguin looking slime thing that's alive, and he calls it Puniru. We'll cut forward. He's now grown up. This kid's growing up.
He's not a little 13.
He's not a little kid no more. He don't play with no slime no more. But no, he's waking up in the morning, and this slime keeps sneaking into his bed, and now the slime is grown up too. She's looking like a grown-up girl now, and now he doesn't want to be stuck in bed with her no more. She's grown up, and he don't play with slime no more. He's a grown-up. But yeah, doesn't want to be around his slime no more. He doesn't want to play with his slime no more. The slime really likes him and wants to hang out with him all the time. Likes it whenever he calls her Kawaii. And yeah, he's trying to get away from her by going to school. But then she shows up at school and bugs him there all the time, and he's constantly trying to get away from her. He does like something at school, and that is Mami Kirara, and she's like the most prettiest girl, most perfect, definitely the most perfect girl. There's no flaws to this lady. She is the perfect girl in the school.
I hear there might be a flaw, but she's flawless. The first time I heard that, I was like, I love it.
And then you have, his two classmates. They're like into idols, and at some point, Puniru turns into an idol, and they're obsessed with her. There's this guy Yusuke, and he's like the playboy of the school, but turns out he's actually obsessed with like kid stuff. Like he likes playing like kids games all the time. He's a dumb kid at heart, really what it is. Here recently, we also meet this guy that is a professor in the school itself, and he's really mad because he can't do like this massive science studies that he's always wanted to do. He got kicked out of this research group or something like that. And then here recently we met this like rich girl that designed like one of the like a really, really popular line of plush dolls that he's super into. Because secretly Kotaro is really into cute things. So even though he doesn't want to admit that Puniru's cute, he's really into cute things. It's like his secret side that he doesn't want anybody to know about. Anyways, what's your thoughts? You've only watched the first episode. What was your thoughts on that show so far? On this show, that show.
Well, the probably the biggest problem that I personally have is that I was trying to hope too much that I was going to get a Hara and Goo. Obviously, this is not Harengu.
What?
Nobody expected it to be.
Oh, that's right. This is Puniru is a Kawaii slime moon.
Yeah, I was hoping for it. And in a way, I do kind of get that vibe. It's kind of a weird aspect of just kind of Puniru being this kind of centralized thing that is causing everything else in the world to be weird. And basically Kotaro is effectively reacting to whatever Puniru is doing. And in a way, that's kind of the formula that kind of works for Goo. But the problem is that Goo is far, far more absurd. And so...
Yeah, it's very Furikuri-ish.
Oh my gosh.
I have broke it. I have broke Hara and Goo for him ever. It's absurd.
Anyway,
it's
so
absurd.
In some ways I kind of want that, but at the same time I understand that this is not, it's not the same. So
you're just waiting for them to go, let's just put the slime in the box and put it over here.
Yeah, I want to see him put it in the box, put it in the river and
set it on fire.
Yeah, set it on fire. No, it's I want it to be that, but its own flavor. And it's so I'm just trying to see where this is going to go. Hopefully we'll get somewhere in it, it'll actually bloom into its potential. But as it stands right now, it is fun, and I did have an absolute blast of finding out what the blobs can be. And
is it going to bloom into it, or is it going to splash into its own thing?
Probably going to splash into its own thing.
Sludge into its own thing. Sludge. It's going to wet the bed into its own thing. No, I obviously had a lot of hype coming to this show. I just kind of wanting it to be sort of one of those gyms. Like, this is kind of one of those ones where, like, when you see it in the list and it's all the way down the bottom of the mall, it's got like 2 members. One of them's me. You kind of want to go, man, I hope this like does something really crazy. That way you can kind of go, you know, you want to prop up cool things like this. Like, you want to prop up that show that nobody else is seeing, and you say, I found this. And yes, the vibe that I was getting from watching several PVs was, yeah, what if this could be another Hara and Goo, and having that kind of, it's just dorky, because you have like everybody else is kind of normal. Everybody has a quirk to them, but they're people. And then you have this thing that's alien. Like Goo was that. Hara and Goo was the boy that was the only one that knew this thing was not human. This girl was not human, and everybody else just seen this cute girl. But every now and then, whenever he sees her alone, she does something weird. Like, her head just pops open and suddenly something comes out of it or something like that. And they dispelled that very quickly, at least that mechanic with this one, because everybody knows she's a slime. And everybody has their own reason for liking Puniru, and he doesn't want to have anything to do with her. Like, with Yusuke, the playboy, he wants to be with Puniru because he likes to play with slime. He has fun with it. He's a kid at heart. Kirara likes her when she's in her child form because she has this massive mommy complex thing going on. Like, she just wants to dote on little kids. Like, she goes nuts. The 2 guys in his classroom, she turns into an idol and chops off her boobs so they could touch them and test them out, make sure they feel real. And so they're obsessed with her, thinking that she's like the most prettiest idol ever. Everybody has a reason for like obsessing over Puniru. And Kotaro Kawaii, he just wants to have nothing to do with her because he's a grown-up and doesn't want to have anything to do with slime no more. He don't want to play with slime no more. Which sucks, because that's all she cares about. It's just she wants him to call her cute. He used to do it all the time. Now he never calls her cute anymore, and it just breaks her heart. So it's constantly just her wanting that attention. And every now and then when he needs her to fix this issue, like, he needs to have a stand-in, like, yeah, trying to distract the playboy so he doesn't ask the girl that he likes out. Okay, call up Puniru. Puniru, can you turn into a Gyaru to get his attention, and we'll lock him up in a classroom so that you can't go out with her? What? Oh, now you want me? Yeah, because you're cute or something like that. It's just, he has to do these things to kind of bait her back into the situation because she's upset that he won't, pay attention to her. This show overall, I think, is solid. Like, throughout watching 4 episodes at this point, I think. Yeah, I think it was about 4 episodes I watched. It's solid. Like,
it does everything fine. It sort of falls in that area where it feels like it's trying to be juvenile, like a kid's show.
Yeah.
But then it has like really crude stuff that
really
pops
adult,
up now and then.
Humor.
So yeah, it almost feels like one of those ones where it's like it's hiding the fact that it's doing adult humor while trying to entertain children's kind of thing. And why that is a problem is because most of the time it almost feels like it's trying to repeat jokes because they'll laugh at this again. Obviously, they're going to laugh at the fact that the Playboy guy really wants to play Yu-Gi-Oh cards or something like that again. It relies too heavily on repeating jokes, which, yes, a lot of comedies like this will do. They'll often try to just reappear at different times, and you'll probably find it funny again. But that's where I kind of find that it falls apart. I don't need to see constantly the Playboy show up and talk about wanting to play a game. I don't need to constantly have Puniru ask him to call her cute. I don't constantly need to have the two guys from his classroom ask to see Puniru again because they're obsessed with her and they think that she's an idol. That's where it kind of falls apart for me. Where it works for me, and I've said this several times before, is it almost feels like at least once per episode, and this is enough for me, honestly, having the show be okay most of the time is fine with me, mainly because I found for pretty much every episode, I think it was one episode I didn't have it, having at least one moment where it does something stupidly absurd where I am laughing out loud. I'm sorry, it's very difficult to get me to laugh out loud at a show. Typically, I laugh inside, but I'm never vocal about my laughs. At least anymore, I'm not very vocal. And so to have those moments where I literally go, the hell just happened on my screen, I'm laughing, that tells you something. So yeah, with the first episode, having that moment where Puniru, the guys really badly like this idol, they're asking Kotaro which one is his favorite. She comes walking in, and of course she's like, oh, you think idols are cute? So maybe if I turn into an idol, Kotaro will call me cute. So she turns into an idol. And then they're standing there and she's like, is this good? And they're like, yeah, but we have to check to see if those, because they're staring at her chest and she's like, is this what you like? Or is this offending you or something like that? And they're like, no, we need to check to see if it's okay. Oh, so you need to touch him. And he's like, well, no, you can't do that. Kotaro's like, you can't do that. No, it's fine. Here, you could touch him. And then suddenly she just chops him off. They fly across and they land on the desk. There's these two blobs of a slime boobs just laying on the desk. It's just like, what?
Not only that, it was like this kind of moving her hands.
Yeah,
up,
it's kind of
like she's getting ready
to. There. She's kind of just.
And then all of a sudden, there was this moment of fast, and then they kind of.
Did you have like the little windows of the inner section right there, where it's just slime because she chopped it off, so it's like this slice of the slime where it's just blank. It was just nuts, and like I said, the whole situation with Kirara Kirara is just freaking crazy. I knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. Like with a girl that's so perfect, you know they're going to be the worst. And so they have this whole segment where it's building up this idea that Kirara really likes to spend time with, like, you know, community service, helping out with kids and whatnot. And so she'll often go to like these different, you know, little childcare places and help out there. And they open up the second episode with this kid, and Kirara helped her find her parent. And as the parent's like, thank you so much for finding my kid, and she's like, oh no, it's okay. And then suddenly it cuts over the kid, and the kid's terrified. And it's like, oh god, here it goes. Here we go. What's gonna happen? Cut later on, he's trying to distract Kirara, so he gets Puniru to transform into a little girl. And shows you got the little, you know, elementary school backpack on. It's got the cute little flap and everything. She's walking around. She's like, I'm so cute. She's like, oh, she's acting like she's lost in the school. And then suddenly Kirara goes by and she stops, stares at Puniru, who's this little crying kid. And she's like, Arara? 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 She just starts ramping it up, and she just goes psycho face, grabs Puniru, shoves her into her chest, and she's like, I will take care of you, baby. And then starts shoving foods and binkies into her mouth, like, I'm gonna take good care of you. Suddenly, Kawaii, Kotaro shows up to go, oh, what's this? You found a kid? And then suddenly Kirara turns around and just smacks him. I'll save you from that perverted boy. And then she starts chasing her down the hallway like this crab just like clawing at the floor. It was just like, what am I watching? What the hell just happened on my screen? It was the build-up, really. Is that whole idea of like her just kind of strolling by and the little casual arara, it just starts going ramping up, and I was like, holy crap, that was hilarious. Again, those moments are like where it just absolutely sells me, but it's like, again, everything else is just kind of like, it's okay. It's like it's not something I can oversell on people, but it's like, as long as me personally, I can have that what the hell happened on my screen moment at least once per episode, I'm good. Like, as long as I can have one moment where I'm gonna clip that sucker and throw it on Twitter or something like that, I'm good. But it's good other than that. Outside of that, it's just, I think the first episode had a pretty decent kind of layout of things to keep my interest. Like, they did a goofy little segment with like the fall on. They did the trope where she falls and he falls on top of her, and it's like this little moment of her going, bless you, and then suddenly he realizes he's getting absorbed into her slime self, and it just completely ruins the moment. Again, him waking up the next morning and going, you can't stay in my bed. You slimed the bed again, and she's just laying in this bed and she's got this slime all over in the sheets. It's got these goofy little moments to kind of offset it, but I can't say that it's a knockout show. This isn't like a Kaguya-sama Love is War where you literally laugh every 2 seconds. It's just decent. It's decent. So yes, anything else?
Mm-mm.
For Puniru, Kawaii Slimu. What next? We have Mecha Ude. Mecha Ude. I don't really have much to talk about on this one, but this one is Mecha Ude Mechanical Arms, streamed on Crunchyroll, run for 12 episodes, done by Trife Studio. It's an original action sci-fi series. And this one opens up with it's in a world where they have the existence of these Mecha Ude, these robotic limbs and whatnot that they call Mecha Udes, or these mechanical organisms. And essentially people can, if these things come in contact with the person, they can attach to the person and they become like one fighting unit or whatever. But there is like this one very sought after Mecha Ude that is like the best of the best, that like will grant you anything, or ultimate power or everything like that. But anyways, we cut over to Hikaru, and he's our main character. At some point, he keeps hearing a voice calling out to him to help him. And then one time he finally decides to seek out what that voice is, where it's at. He ends up coming across this place that is like quarantined off. He ends up finding this little cube, and upon interacting with the cube, it attaches to his hoodie. Again, like I said, these typically will attach to a person's body, but this thing attaches to a hoodie. And so even though the thing's like, no, once it's attached, it can't come off the person, he literally just has to take off his hoodie, and it's detached from him, which is bad because it's already kind of sync with him. So it does need to technically get energy from him. So if he does separate from it, it dies. And he even tries to. He's like, I don't want to have anything to do with this thing. He goes to leave, and the thing's literally dying. So he kind of gets stuck with this hoodie with this robot arm on it. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, everybody in the world wants to chase him down, because obviously they all believe this Mecha Ude that he has, which is Arma, is extremely important. It might be this, sacred arm that everybody wants. So right now he's kind of stuck between this resistance group, which wants to take him and protect him, and this Kagami group, which is a group that literally like enslaves the Mecha Ude. Like, it doesn't, they use like ways to entrap them and prevent them from having their own personalities and just force them to do their biddings. So it's the good Mecha Ude users versus the bad Mecha Ude users, really what it is. So yeah, he's stuck with he gets brought to the resistance group. They basically tell him it's bad that you have been attached to this thing, but we'll protect you. You don't need to do anything. Don't get involved with anything. But we're gonna let you go to school. I don't know what that's about. It's imperative that you do not get trapped by this Kagami group, but go to school. Sure, it makes perfect sense. Everything is, all the weight of the world is upon you having this Arma, which is this incredibly powerful and very important arm, Mecha Ude. But have fun going to school. Don't worry, we'll send you Aki to protect you so that you can go in classrooms together with each other. While simultaneously, every literally every day, suddenly out of nowhere, some person from the Kagami group shows up to literally kill you. But go to school. Anyways, that's Mecha Ude so far. At some point, Aki, we find out that she has like this snake-using Mecha Ude guy that is responsible for the death of her family. So she really badly seeking out to try to find that person, and stuff happens. Anyways, my thoughts on Mecha Ude. Visually, pretty good. I mean, this kind of reminds me a lot of like a very triggerish type of a show visually. Definitely not to their quality, but pretty darn good. Like it's got a simplicity to the style that sometimes looks a little bit flat, but I think overall it's got a good style to it. Some of the action scenes themselves are decent as well. It's got a lot of height to the action scenes, but at the same time, I will admit that some fight sequences, especially like early on with Aki, it feels like I don't have a semblance as to what's happening on the screen. Like it's very sloppy high action. I kind of mentioned this before. Like one of the things that I praised Freya for was that even when the show got to really heavy high action where the screen's going all over the place and the characters are all over the place, I still had a semblance of where people are and how far they are. Distance is still computable in my brain. This one just feels like it's just one of those things where there's just stuff scrambling on the screen. But again, overall, I think it looks solid. The chemistry's decent so far. Like Hikaru is okay. I kind of like Aki. She's got that kind of like almost. She's extremely emotionally closed off, but she still has that goofy side to her. She still likes to snack. So when you have the girl in their class who's probably gonna end up being a really bad guy eventually, when you have this one girl in their class that brings them like cookies or whatever, suddenly Aki just goes over there and starts cramming down cookies in her mouth. She's got a sweet tooth. So she's got that cute side to her coolness. But other than that, I mean, the chemistry between Arma and Hikaru is decent as well. It's overall chemistry's decent. I think my biggest problem I have is like the overall story, the factions, and the setup, everything just feels very generic. Like it is, like I said, he's the one that finds the super praised arm that is going to solve everything in the world, and he's stuck with it, and he uses it in a unique way, and suddenly, oh no, there's these two factions, the bad guys and the good guys, and they all want him, so now they're fighting over him, and insert random people that he runs into every week that have like a 2-second story, and they'll fight each other until he either wins them over or they get taken off by the bad guy. It's that whole thing. And then I'm constantly kind of wondering, if he's so important and these people are so evil, why is everybody ending up in that school? Like literally the guy from the previous episode that he fought that nearly killed Aki, they have this thing where the Mecha Ude themselves, after they attach to you, they draw out this energy from within you. So they have like this semblance of like this almost black hole where the energy comes out of and feeds into the Mecha Ude. If they can separate the Mecha Ude from you, they no longer have access to that. So what happens? You die. It's like they leave a wound behind that you will die. So this guy steals Aki's Mecha Ude, and she's paralyzed and dying. She will die if he doesn't get these cues back to her so that she can reform them. Next episode, or like literally after that whole fight, he's chilling with them at school. He nearly killed her, and now he's chilling with them at school. So the entire resistance group's okay with this? Everybody's okay with this? He nearly killed her. It's that whole kind of frustration thing. It feels so... It feels so Saturday morning cartoons. Like it just feels so... It feels disingenuous with its premise and its the weight of every situation.
So out of curiosity, the most valuable Mecha Ude ever, they're not protecting him with the most highest level protection, and not and the bad guys are not sitting really, and they're not
really great, but
the resist or the other group is not sending the highest level assassin towards him. Or they are sending him that they just suck that bad.
They just can't seem to find him. They just can't seem to find him. They keep finding him, but nobody apparently relays that information out there. It's just not time, Chris.
I see.
I think I even had that point at some point. Somebody's like, it's not time yet. What? Like, there's a schedule here? Like, why don't you just get him now? He's like right in front of you. Not yet. It's not time. Okay, whatever. Again, it's that whole idea of like fake tension. It's just after the second time of fake tension, you're like, I can't take anything serious anymore because this is all absurd in a way. Again, it's just very kind of childish with its story is really what it is. And then you have that whole problem where constantly you have Hikaru who acts like a whiny kid that's just trying to run away all the time during a fight. And then suddenly the moment that Aki has like a slight chance that she might get harmed, suddenly he goes full Saiyan mode and the Mecha Arma comes like and envelops his entire body. And he's got flames coming out of his eye and suddenly he's really serious. Like, why can't you just do that from the start? It just had to like wait and have you panic running away like a whiny kid until you finally decide to get serious. It's fine. It looks fine. It's a dumb shonen type of show. It's got good visuals. It's fun. I think in the end, it's just kind of fun. I think Arma and Hikaru kind of make it. And again, Aki's cute, so we'll see. It's okay. It's Mecha Ude. I'm just kind of more surprised I'm not hearing anybody talk about it. Like, I know that when they had like a pilot, I think a long time ago of this series. I remember that popping up at some point. I think it was a pilot showing him fighting the guy that just joined the school. And I heard a lot of people talking about it back then, but I haven't heard anybody talk about it since then. So it kind of went silent. Anyways, Trillion Game. Let's talk about Trillion Game. This one is streaming on Crunchyroll, being done by Madhouse. It's based on a manga, action, comedy, drama, psychological. And this one is by the creator, Richiro Inagaki, who, of course, is known for doing Dr. Stone. So the writer behind Dr. Stone, not the artist. But yeah, this one opens up with it initially opens up with Manabu Taida, and he is a geek, and he's spent most of his life like trying to save up all of his money. He's a geek, likes to code and do hacking and stuff like that, programming. And at some point, he gained enough money. He went out and bought a really expensive computer laptop that he's been saving up for a long time. Nearly gets it stolen by a bunch of thugs, but then this classmate of his from his school, Haru Tenoji, he shows up, beats up the guys, but gets caught by the camera. He actually was planning on beating up the dudes without getting caught by the camera, but this truck moved and then the camera hit him, so he got caught on camera. It's probably is going to ruin his chances at his college or whatever. So in response to this, Manabu's like, thank you for saving me and helping save my computer. Flips open his laptop and decides to hack the cameras so that he can delete the footage so that, Tenoji doesn't get in trouble. And this kind of is the start of their relationship. Not like they become friends or anything like that, but like over time, eventually Tenoji will kind of creep over there and talk to Taida every now and then, hang out with him. As they are graduating, kind of gets into the sense that Taida can't find a good job. Like, even though Tenoji's like, dude, you're brilliant. Like, you're gonna have like these massive like tech companies just fighting over you. Like, they, you're a super hacker kid, But no, nobody's kind of answering his applications. So they end up both going to this one same Dragon Bank or whatever company, and both apply at the same time. And what we get sense from there is that through the process of them being interviewed, Taida has the smarts. He's a brilliant kid. Like, he's a programmer, hacker, brilliant boy. He just sucks at communicating. So yeah, sure enough, when he's in the interview, and when he's in the interview, everybody's kind of just going, he's panicking basically the entire time. So he gets a bad impression. But the daughter of the company lead is in that room too, and she acknowledges that he's probably here because he's got a lot of other talents, like his smarts. Then comes in Tenoji, and yeah, sure enough, he just wins everybody over because he's got charisma. He's got the charm. He's got all these fake stories that he's made up beforehand. He can tell stories that will entertain everybody in the room. They want to hire him immediately. Not his talents, just the fact that he can just take over that room. What this kind of turns into is, yes, Manabu Tari, he does not get the job because he's just not good at communicating. But Haru Tenoji does. But he ends up quitting. As Manabu's outside washing the windows of that same building because he has to do this part-time job, Haru at the same time quits the job on the spot, goes out there, drops down next to him, and literally tells him, we're going to open a company together. I just quit this place. We're going to open a company together because all I have is my charms. All I have is my speaking. I'm not smart like you are. You're the brains. So we're going to open up a company together. We're going to open that company. We're going to go public. We're going to buy, and we're going to take off. We're going to aim for $1 trillion. And so at the same time, he literally draws with the spray, the washing soap on the outside of the window of the big president guy's window saying, I'm going to eventually own you guys. But anyways, that kind of opens up to them, yes, starting their own company, immediately going to trying to find private investors because, you can't go to a bank and get a bunch of money. So Haru kind of focuses on trying to find private investors. They can pretty much swindle into giving them a bunch of money that they can then invest themselves. And so that goes into them going around talking to a bunch of private investors, asking for way too much. Huh?
What are they selling?
Nothing.
Gotcha.
That's the whole idea here. That's the whole trick here. Even at the very beginning, Taida's Manabu's like, okay, so what's our business plan? Don't need one. What do you mean? Well, I made this thumb drive right here. It has a bunch of, just dummy slides. Again, it's all in Haru and how he talks to people. And that's sort of something that, they go through and they see a bunch of private investors. Again, they talk it up. They pretty much talk it up as that Manabu is going to be the next big. He's going to make the next big program. And I think they were implying it being like the next big Zoom meetings or whatever. That Manabu is a genius programmer. He's going to make this massive app that's going to go crazy. They don't have anything. Again, they're just making up stuff. They just spend all their time just trying to find investors. And whenever they find somebody that's interested, he's always asking for too much. So people end up denying them. And this is bugging Manabu because it's like they keep getting rejected. But Haru's like, no, it's all right. It's all right. Next one. Eventually, it leads to them going to their last one. Haru's like, okay, we've tried all these. Let's try this last one. Somebody that has a lot of money that has interest in me. He knew that the daughter of that big, massive dragon bank, she was interested in him. He's even got her contact. So he gets a meeting with her. And sort of what they do in that whole situation is he's presenting him, yes, I want money from you. And she's like, why would I invest in you guys? Given that instance that that you want to invest in me. She is interested in him because she knows that Manabu's smart. And she knows that Haru knows how to talk to people. So she kind of wants him too. She even offered to buy him, and he declined it. And so she ends up, after he kind of tricks her, he does a swindle where they're in this workout room, and he basically, while Manabu is distracting everybody by failing to lift an empty bar, Haru off the side ends up swapping out some weights for some fake phone weights, and then makes them all believe that he's lifting a massive amount of weight in order to trick them. But anyways, that all leads to her to, because she did that, to offer them, I think it was 100 million or something like that. And they're like, okay, there's a trick here. Why are you offering this much money? She's like, well, I want to own 51% of your company, which, if you know what investment means, that means that she owns them. She owns a majority of them. She makes all their decision, basically. And here's the kind of clever thing they made early on, is the idea that he almost implies that he's going to take the offer, and Manabu's like, do you really want to do that? She'll own us. He's like, I'm not going to actually take that offer. What they do is the Dragon Company on a regular basis has this hacking convention where they bring in all these massive hackers from like Google and everybody together to try to see who can hack this one system the quickest. And Haru signs them up with their name on the lineup is the daughter of the Dragon Bank company offered us $100 million for 51% of our company. Please send us your offers. So basically just the fact that the daughter of this massive corporation, she wants us. So obviously you're going to want us. We're obviously important if she's offering money for us. And so that's his big trick to sort of get people to compete for them. So, and then it got into the hacking game, which I think was kind of stupid, but that's as far as I gotten. So that was a long synopsis. I'm sorry. I probably could have condensed that a little bit. My thoughts on Trillion Game. It's so Dr. Stone Rider. It's so stupid, Dr. Stone Rider. Like, how can you make something so monotonous, entertaining? It's like, Haru is literally, he's not Senku. Senku is just kind of a thing of his own. But Haru is trying to be a Senku. Like, if he was making a Senku character in the show, it's Haru. It's a guy that literally can say, let's do the impossible. Hey, we need to get private investors. Well, what's our offer? We don't need one. Let's just go in there and charm the hell out of him. He's just got that charisma, which I personally, as somebody that has dealt with a lot of people in marketing in my old job, I had to constantly stand around marketing people. There's those people. Like I've met Harus before, where you can have a room full of people that have been in the business for 50 years of their lives. You have people that have been there for 10 years of their lives that are doing really well. You have all these people who have massive amounts of knowledge. But then you have that one kid that walks in that's just fresh out of college, and he wins the room in an instant. They have that charisma. They have that that thing that says, look at me. And they will have stories to tell, even though you're like, how do you have so many stories when you're literally like 18 years old? Like they'll come in that room and they will steal everybody's attention, and they will tell some stupid story about hunting that is okay. And they I don't care.
And they have a knack for somehow fitting that story into whatever it is they're trying to sell.
They'll literally walk up to the random person and they'll get them interested in the stupid story. And you're like, how did you get them interested in that story? They just have that it. And it almost, I've met some that they literally don't even look like they're trying. They just have that personality. It could be something that they've molded and they've created for themselves, or it could just be somebody that just has a natural charisma. And that's probably why they got in the business, because somebody probably told him this is your job. I've met Harus, and they do exactly what he does. And I think the writer is doing really good to create that character. He's one half of the show, though, and here's the problem where I'm starting to get into. Manabu, I don't care about. Manabu is a character I think that it's a nerd character. He's a geek character. He just kind of is wanting to do his own thing, but I'm not sold yet on why he's even a thing. Like, yes, like we were talking about earlier, his whole thing is that he's supposed to be the programmer character. And even when they first open up their company, Haru says, you are the engine. You are the engine. All these other companies that they have their programmers and stuff, they're just kind of exploited to make other people money. These engineers that have to work 24/7 to make sure a company works while the big wigs make all the money. You're going to be the center of it. You're going to be the focus. I'm going to make sure that you're happy. You're our heart of our company. But what is he doing?
Yeah.
Like, it almost felt like that hacker convention thing that comes out of nowhere later on. Unless it was all part of Haru's plan, all the way from the first episode is eventually to have him do that hacker convention with that name. I don't get what it almost feels like that hacker convention thing was put there to give Manabu some purpose in the story, because he's not doing anything. It's all been Haru. So what's the point of... And even when Manabu has this goal to be this person to be the hacker in the hacker convention, Haru still has to go out and somehow rope 100 hackers into a Zoom call with him to help him win the hacker convention. Which, by the way, during the hacker convention, suddenly throwing 100 people on a Zoom call at Manabu, you're not going to be able to navigate that. There's no way in hell you can orchestrate 100 random people on a Zoom call to help you in a hacker convention out of nowhere. I've had to lead meetings with 20 plus people, and the only way that you were able to manage that is have all of them mute and every now and then go to a person. You're not going to be able to communicate with 100 people at once to do that. But anyways, that aside, I don't get the purpose of Manabu. I do find him to be sort of a straight man in the whole situation, while Haru is kind of just owning the whole situation. Kirihime was kind of funny for the brief moments I've seen her in this show. She's just kind of, she quickly gets obsessed with the two of them and wants to own them. And there's a funny conversation between Haru and Kirihime every now and then. Like, again, the whole thing where she literally, when he's in the interview, he says that he claims that he can speak like so many languages. And so she, in order to trick him, I think she asked in Chinese, well, prove it to me.
and she asks she says, "Prove it to me." She says in Chinese or something like that. For the betterment of my company, will you let me own you? Can I buy you and own you for the betterment of this company? Because she wants to save the bank. The bank's not doing well. She wants to save it. So she wants fresh people that will do a good job. His response, and I think he did it in 2 languages, I forget. His response is, how about you let me own you and I'll save your bank. I'll save the company. That was his response in the other language. So they're like, there's this constant back and forth between the two of them on which one's going to own the other one for the betterment of the company, and who's going to basically stand on top. So they almost got like this whole like constant battle of between the two of them of dominance. And I do like, I kind of like that whole thing there. So like, even when they sign themselves up for that convention and they put the name there, obviously eventually she pulls up her phone and sees her name on there, basically saying Kirihime of Dragon Bank offered us 51% ownership for our company for this much money. She's literally flustered by it, and she's got all these guys that are supposed to beat them out and prevent them from winning, and she's like, ain't no way in hell you're not gonna be able to beat them. They'll figure something out. She's like, she knows Haru and Manabu will figure something out. That stuff's fun. So it's got a good little setup here, and I am enjoying it, but I don't like Manabu. A lot of the humor doesn't work for me. Like, they have this whole bit where he buys Manabu a mesh chair. And why did he buy him a mesh chair? Why did he spend their entire budget, their starting budget, spent it all on a mesh chair for Manabu? 1, he's the engine of the group. But 2, optimum efficiency. If you ever have to fart, it doesn't block it. It just goes right through. It's like, okay, sure. Sure, okay. It's funny. It's working. I mean, it's fine. Visually, it's okay. I don't like the style of it at all. It's kind of one of those shows where it's very almost Western looking, like Western comic looking. And it almost looks like the characters have so much detail that it doesn't like to move because the characters look too detailed. And that's kind of a bother, but it's fine. Visually, it's fine. I kind of want to keep going on it, but at the same time, it is one of those shows where I just don't really feel compelled to watch more. Like, I don't feel like when a Trillion game episode pops up, I'm like, what else is on? Like, it's one of those shows where it's like, I'm fine. I guess it's just like Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone's one of those shows where I'm not into it unless I'm watching it. But at least Dr. Stone, when an episode pops up, I want to watch it.
Yeah. This
one's like a Trillion game episode 5. Yeah. Let's see if Demon Lord 2099's on. Let's go watch that. I'll keep, I'm still kind of mixed up on to keep watching it. It's got a decent setup. I'll probably will, just because I do like Dr. Stone as a story and the writer behind it. So I'm hoping this one has as much crazy moments of like overcoming something as that one did. But we'll see. The whole thing of them putting that girl's name on the thing was kind of funny. So anywho, that's Trillion Game. That sounds interesting to you. Definitely check it out. What else? We have Orb on the movements of the Earth. I apologize beforehand if anybody has watched my tier list, have watched my videos that I released on this show, or have watched my top 10 anime of the season so far, because I have been selling this show. Like, I'm trying to find anywhere I can put out that you need to be watching this show, because Orb on the Movements of the Earth is easily of the new shows. It's hard to go up against something like ReZero, let's be honest. And I really like Dandadan. But of the new shows, I mean, this one and Dandadan, they're great for different reasons, so they're even hard to kind of compete against each other. But this show is possibly going to go down as if it can keep at what it's doing, it could possibly go down as a legendary show. Like a show that will probably go down like 5 years from now, will probably be pointing people to Orb. But yeah, this one is Chikyo no Undo ni Suite. This one is streaming on Netflix. It's running for 2 whole cours, 25 episodes. Being done by Studio Madhouse. Sources of manga. The genres are drama. And this one opens up with a boy named Raffle. It's kind of in that period of time with like the church, is booming. They're like heading most of the states. This is like early moments of... At the time of opening it, we have this period of time where even the concept of Earth itself is still in the idea of it being the center of the universe. That kind of theory there. We're kind of building into the theory of the Earth itself is orbiting the sun and not being the center of the universe. We're like way back in that time period. Yes, and during a time period where, you know, the idea of questioning what belief is in science, if it goes against theology and the belief of God, could end up having you put on, you know, burned at the stake, that kind of time period. But yes, we follow Raphael. And Raphael is a boy that he used to be an orphan. He was brought in, he was adopted in and taken care of by this this professor named Potok. And Raphael, in the fact that he has struggled most of his life being an orphan, the moment that he was given that chance, he believed in this idea of everybody around him is kind of dumb. He knows what's best in order to kind of play life safe, you know, take the easiest route, you know, study, work really hard, get good grades, get into college, go into theology, because obviously everybody likes theology. It's a nice, safe place to get into, and just live a comfortable life. Problem is that he really likes the stars, and so he did technically want to get into astronomy, but he chose to go with theology because it was a safer route. One day, his father tells him to go pick up Hubert, and Hubert was a heretic at some point. He was called as a heretic at some point, but he has recanted, and he's allowed to leave. And so his father tells him to go pick up Hubert and, you know, guide him back to their house. So he goes to pick up Hubert. And as he's walking home with Hubert, at some point, Hubert, he kind of questions, like, you know, what did you get in trouble for? And come to find out that he got in trouble because he was looking into astronomy, specifically the idea of the Earth itself not being the center of the universe, that we're actually orbiting something, the stars themselves. And yeah, even though he's recanted, kind of find out, he's like questioning Raphael, like, you know, are you into astronomy? No, I'm actually going to theology. But why do you have that on your hip? He has like this little device for reading the stars on his hip. Oh yeah, that's just a hobby thing. He's like, let me see your notebook. So he brings out his little wax notebook, looks at the information in there. He's like, this isn't a hobby of yours. You have some good eyes. Like, you are taking some really good notes here. So he tells him, you know, I recanted. Or it kind of gives the impression to Raphael that, like, okay, you're not looking into this stuff anymore, right? Because you recanted. No, I'm not. I've recanted, but I'm not going to stop my research. Hubert, this guy that has been caught for questioning what they believe in for the stars and science, he's recanted in order to not be executed. But being a scholar himself, he's desperate to seek the truth. Like, this is something that he is going to seek out. So he tells Raphael, I'm going to basically blackmail you. You're going to come with me out of this one location that I found where it's a great place to look at stars. You're going to come there with me. I'm going to show you this great view, and you're going to give me some information on the stars themselves, because his vision's kind of messed up. And so he's going to use Raphael's good vision in order to give him the information he needs. Raphael like leaves and he's like, I'm going to turn this guy in. What the hell are you talking about? I ain't going to get involved with his heretic stuff. I'm going to end up dead like he is. Everybody else that, you know, questions the belief in the church and everything like that ends up dead. I'm playing my life safe. But it keeps ringing in his head. He's got this really great place to see the stars. And again, he's obsessed with the stars. He really likes the stars. So it's kind of just teases him into going out there with this Hubert guy and checking out this one location. But yeah, the view's great. He ends up giving the guy all the information that he needs about the placement of the stars and everything like that. And this Hubert guy ends up bestowing upon him his theory, the idea that the world is not the center of the universe, that we're orbiting something. Raphael's like, that's dumb. Why would you? There's several reasons why that Raphael questions why that would be a bad thing. One is, why would you question the existence of where the Earth is in the world, in the universe, when nobody's going to believe you? You could end up dead for doing this. Why would you even do that? And secondly, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it theoretically does not make sense that we would be orbiting something. And as Raphael's leaving, he ends up tripping. And he sees how, like, the stars and everything kind of rotate around him. And it triggers a thought in his head, like, this actually could be. He runs home, opens up this notebook, starts writing down all these theories and trying to plan it out. And eventually he comes to realize, wait, this guy could be right. Like, suddenly it starts to click for him. Like, this actually makes sense. And he gets obsessed with trying to seek out this knowledge, just like Hubert once was. And of course, after this, we pretty much have the Inquisitors show up. And they find his booklet that he's writing all his notes down on. And they are asking him, what the hell is these notes? And then Hubert shows up and says, those are my notes.
takes the bullet for him. Raphael's like, you said that once you got out, you were going to seek out this thing. You weren't going to go back in there. I've done what I need to do. I passed it off to you. So he basically passes it off to Raphael. So now Raphael's going to take that information and try to do his own thing. Ends up leaving him behind this thing that gives him an indication where all of Hubert's notes are kept, because he kept them hidden in the forest. And so Raphael finds all those notes. And it goes on and on. I don't want to get too far into it, but that's a good setup for you to give you a sense of what's going on here. Is you have essentially starting off with Raphael, this idea of this boy who wants to play it safe, doesn't want to get involved with anything that will call him a heretic and end up getting him in trouble with, the laws of the land and everything. Running into a guy that is questioning how the universe itself exists and showing him how seeking out that knowledge can almost be like an addictive thing to a scholar. Like that desire for the truth and how beautiful it can be. Like even at some point when Raphael's asking Hubert, why would you question it? There's a thought process there of like, do you not believe in God? Like this is what the church shows you. Do you not believe in heaven and everything, Hubert? And Hubert's reply to that really is, he does believe in God, and it's more of an idea that he wants to have proof of the existence of God through seeing it in the nature of the world that was created by him rather than what the books themselves say. So he has a different perspective on the belief of it and the existence of the universe itself. And he finds beauty in the idea that somebody like him, a mere person like him, can find that and seek that knowledge. And that's sort of a sense that you get early on is the series so far has kind of been a multi-purpose thing here. One is that thirst of knowledge, like sort of seeing that how well the show itself portrays the idea of somebody being absorbed in that thirst for the truth. Like seeing Raphael just go crazy with his theories and writing down like stuff and going, holy crap, he's just inspired by trying to seek out that truth. And all the while throwing all caution to the wind as he's chucking scraps of paper around his room that any one of those scraps of paper is seen by somebody will end up having him killed. That thirst for that knowledge. Hubert, They typically say the idea that when you're caught once, you can recant and you'll be freed. But if you get caught again, they'll believe the devil's within your bones and they want to burn it immediately. Hubert, even after being caught once, he's still thirsting for that knowledge. He's still thirsting to find that truth. And I think they're doing a really great job so far of showing that thirst of knowledge and wanting to seek that truth. The second part of it is, yes, that fear of being caught by the Inquisitors and showing these perspectives of mainly Nobok, who is an Inquisitor. He's a mercenary that was hired in by a pope in order to be a part of their Inquisitors. And he's going around and basically trying to obviously harm people, torture people in order to get the truth out of them, get them to recant and all that kind of stuff. Having him even come to Potok himself and trying to push him to even ratting out his own son. That stuff is all there as well, that fear of the Inquisitors. And then going into the third part, which is really kind of the baton pass. What we get from a sense of in this first episode is that baton pass that you get from Hubert. Hubert passes it on to Raphael. This is this thing that I have been seeking out the truth for this long time. I've got all these notes that I've been gathering for the longest time. Now's your turn. Raphael picks up that baton. All right, I'm going with this. Gonna go forward. Gonna try to find the truth for you instead, because you're not gonna be able to. You're either gonna die eventually, or somebody's gonna catch you. Here, pass it on to you. All right, now it's your turn, Raphael. Can you figure it out? And they even imply at some point that Potok himself handed it off to Hubert. Sort of inspired Hubert a long time ago. I love that kind of feel there, and it continues on through the following episodes. That feeling of like the baton pass. Everything for the show is just nailing it. Like I absolutely love this show. I love the characters. I love the setup so far. I like the portrayal of all the things that I just talked about visually. The directing is absolutely spot on. And again, even me, I know I'm not an astronomist. Like I do not know much about science and the stars and all that kind of crap. I'm even learning things watching this show, which I think is kind of fun as well. Like I learned about retrograde motion.
Retrograde.
I've never. Again, it's one of those things where when he started talking about it, I'm like, I had to think about it for a second. It's one of those things like the person that was looking into retrograde motion is a character named Glass. Glass had lost a long time ago. Glass had lost his family, which was his love of his life. Like he was
he didn't have much in his life. He got a family. He loved his family. And then the plague came, took his family away from him. He was the only one that survived. In response to their death, he hated the world and wanted to end it. So he tried to end his own life, and he failed. The church found out about him failing to kill himself, and what does that turn into? A heretic. He recants, and he's not liking life, but then he discovers something to love in the world itself, which is, he noticed one of these dots in the sky, which he starts to monitor for a while. He finds out from a monk that it's what they call planets. And he's following this planet, which is Mars, and it's making this perfect circle in the night sky. And at some point, he's like, he found that joy, and it's almost going to reach the other side. He's like, it's going to create a perfect circle. This is something that he's stuck in his head as sort of the world showing him something beautiful. And he loves it. This is this joy in his life. And then, yes, at some point, it just stops. And the next day, it's going backwards. It's going backwards. And suddenly it ruins it. And I was like, oh, so that's, again, it was one of those things where I didn't know what it was called. But it's like one of those things where when I think about it, yeah, I mean, my mind immediately goes to, again, from a modern science perspective, I obviously immediately go, well, it's going to be obviously the point in which our orbits kind of align with each other. And yes, we're technically moving faster around the sun. So it makes sense to me, knowing how we're not in the center of the universe, it makes perfect sense. But to Glass, who in his setting, in his belief, and everybody's belief in that world, they're the center of the universe. He's just seen this thing going around like this. He doesn't know that we have an orbit. So it's like one of those moments of like, oh, cool, I learned something at the same time. It made perfect sense immediately because I know it. It's basic. This is common sense stuff. I mean, Glass, we're not the center of the universe. It's one of those moments where I just learn terminology and kind of connect things to it. So it's kind of cool seeing that stuff. So I'm technically learning something on the side. But the most important point. The last point I want to make as to why this show is literally, again, fighting with Dan 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 for its own reasons. Number one new show of the season. Novak is Kendra Suda, and he's my man crush. And he's such a cool. He's not a cool character. He's a horrible character. He's, again, as a mercenary that is acting as an inquisitor who's so far, I think he's killed like 3 people already. He's probably killed way more than that at this point, now that we've had kind of a little bit of a time jump. It's just, there was this one scene where I'm like, oh gosh, Kendra Suda is just so freaking great. There was one scene where when Raphael first comes back home and Novak is outside of his house, and Raphael comes walking up and he's like, oh, hey, Novak, sirs, what can I do for you? And Novak immediately turns around and says, oh, we're just dropping by to check in on Hubert, because Hubert was supposed to come by here. And as we were looking around in your room, we found something. And he holds up the notebook, and it has literally the diagram of the sun and all the planets orbiting around it. And he's like, Nanikore? What is this? What is this? What is this? Like, it was just the way that he said it, like, oh, Kendra Suda, you're melting my ear at the same time. You're super creepy. I love it. Like, it was such a dread moment, because you have the music in the background is like going, it's got almost like, the music was almost like an ambient chime. And he's going, what is this? What is this? What is this? And I was like, oh my God, it's such a good scene. It was such a good scene. And then, yeah, like I said, Hubert shows up. They nail a lot of these scenes of like dread and getting caught and the weight of what could happen to you. It's just so good. Like, even later on, they have this little segment where Novak is having to transport somebody, and he's just like, he's a very chill dude, and he's like questioning this other person across from him, like, why am I here? This is supposed to be such and such guy's turn. Why am I even here? And the guy immediately turns on Novak and says, you need not be so complacent about your job. You're doing the work of God. Don't be so lazy. And immediately Novak, oh no, I wasn't meaning that. Like, even Novak himself is afraid of them branding him a heretic. It kind of gets in that whole weight of like what that power is and how it is misused. It's obviously misused. I like it. It's really good stuff. I love it, love it, love it. So anyways, that's all to say. Really incredible show. Can't wait for more of it. I just hope I will admit, episode episode, it'll be 5, right? 3, 4, 5. Yeah, episode 5. It had some really good points in it, and I really loved Oxy and Glass's character build that they had in that episode. Oxy's a character that is accepting that heaven's the only thing, that we shouldn't, that everything here sucks, whereas Glass was trying to find a reason to love the world. It was kind of a little bit of a drop down for me for episodes, but every episode, like especially 1 through 3, is incredible. If you want to get a taste of this series, watch at least the first 3 episodes. It's really good. So, anyways, that's Orb. Orb. Gosh. What's our next one? I think it was one that you've watched. Yes, it is time for Goodbye Dragon Life. Hello Milk Life. Hello Milk Life. Hello Milk Life. I didn't get a chance to watch the recent episodes. I think I'm behind 2 episodes on this one. Goodbye Dragon Life, or Sayonara Ryusei Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa Shinsei. I always said that's so weird. Anyways, I like whenever I realize how badly I pronounce things for once. Anyway, this one is done by Synergy SP and Vega Entertainment. It's a light novel, and these genres are action, adventure, fantasy. And this one opens up with Dolan. Well, it opens up with a dragon. I don't know if his name was Dolan before. This really, really old dragon that's lived for a long time, and he's being hunted down by all these dudes and killed eventually. And then he wakes up and he's reborn as the son of a human family. And he is raised in this little small village they have in this village. There's a couple of demi-humans there, like cow people and stuff. And yeah, he's just living his life there, enjoying his life. Eventually it gets into him running into a Lamia, and she is traveling to try to find a mate. But she has to find a specific type of mate because it's got to be a mate that can withstand the poison of a Lamia when they mate. So that's kind of rough for her. Plus everybody kind of is afraid of Lamias. But yeah, eventually he kind of figures out, he makes some master plan to get her to be able to join the village because she kind of wants to live there rather than traveling because everybody else seems to hate her, whereas he was kind of accepting of her. And then, yeah, they drink milk. So what's your thoughts? I haven't gone any further than that. I think they got into the Christina lady, which I haven't really got into yet. So
Christina,
it was like some sword chick in the village.
She just pretty much joined. There was an inquisitor, speaking of which, who came and collected Selena.
Was it voiced by Kendra Suda?
No.
Oh, nani kore, nani kore, nani kore.
But he collected Selena. Dolan went with him. They went back to the main city, Christina.
Christina.
She apparently can run super fast, and she ran and got there first. Talked to a lady who's a headmistress, and they found out that there's a lady who's doing really evil, bad stuff.
And then Christina drank the baby cow's milk. I seen that clip.
Yeah, there was some of that.
Because she was trying her first time making the milk, and so she had Christina drink it, and then she liked it.
There's definitely milk involved.
There's a lot of milk in this
some episodes. Okay, so I don't know that this show looks all that great. Don't care. It's goofy. It's fun. I like Dolan. I like Selena. Pretty much every character that they've introduced so far has been pretty great. Don't know that the story's really pushing very far. It's kind of feels like a slow life type show, and that works just fine for me. It's the problem that I kind of see in this is that it's trying to do the slow life with but at the same time doing these I mean, when you get into the lady who tried to collect Selena, it's like, okay, this is way too dark for the show that you're trying to sell me. This is insane. So I don't know if they're trying for this other thing that they did in these last couple of episodes. I kind of hope not. I kind of liked it better as the cute fluffy thing that they were doing at the beginning. So kind of mixed. But as it stands right now, I'm enjoying it just fine.
Yeah, I think initially when we first seen the PVs and stuff like that, I'm like,
Yes, it's slow. It gave me the impression of slow life isekai without it being isekai. I mean, it could still be technically isekai. I think the characters that killed him when he was a dragon looked a little bit too unique that he's probably going to still be the same world. I don't know if it's implied yet that it's the same world. But that's the assumption there, is that him being killed by a dragon, he thought like, oh yay, the end of my long life. Now it's all over. Let it end, and then boom, now I'm a human. Okay. But yeah, it kind of went quickly into him, you know.
I thought him going to the goddess kind of implied that he was in the same world.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, I must have blanked out on that part. But yeah, I kind of assumed like slow life reincarnation, you know, banished from the hero's party. Now I enjoy my slow life in a village in the outskirts of the world. Farming life in another world, kind of chill, like isekai type of setup. But it didn't really do that, which I personally appreciate, because those shows typically don't really work for me. They're just kind of too yawn for me. I think just really quickly when it starts getting into like Selena and stuff like that, I found Selena's a dork. Selena's a dork. Like the initial meeting of hers is a dork. She's like immediately trying to recall to her mother, how did mother say that I'm supposed to win over these men? And then she starts doing this goofy little dance. And he's like, what the heck are you doing? She's just like a total dork. I absolutely love her. Like just their chemistry back and forth was just kind of really silly. Just her, almost like him treating like a kid, her not wanting to be treated like a kid, but yet she has like a goofy childish attitude for herself. And eventually leading to like, why are you not bringing her back to the village? She's obviously going to come back to the village. She's obviously a part of the harem. Getting a little bit into how Lamias kind of work, and the fact that they have to find mates that can overcome poison. Just getting a little bit of silliness into just the mechanics of what a Lamia is. All that stuff was great. Just their back and forth was solid. And then going back to the village and having to kind of figure out how to get her brought into the village was decent as well. I just found it a pretty solid first 2 episodes for me. Again, I didn't get into anything after that, whether it keeps up or not, or if it just gets boring after that point. But based on what you just told me, it sounds really boring. But hopefully when I actually watch it, Chris does suck at telling stories sometimes. So maybe I'm gonna put it off as the fact that he just sucked at telling what happens next. I look forward to watching more of it. I think if anything, Selena is enough for me, as long as it gives me more Selena, because I think she's a lot of fun. I'll probably enjoy it. Even the little girl from the village seems to be thirsty for him, so I'm certain she'll probably join his harem as well. We're already seeming like we're gonna probably rack up a pretty decent harem for him in the end. He's gonna join. He's gonna have one massive house full of hot girls. I don't know, but it's all for me. I can't really think of anything specifically that's really kind of worked for the show, and that does have me a little bit afraid, because like I agree with you. I think the overall story and everything. He's chilling in a village. I'm certain eventually maybe somebody will discover that he has dragon blood in him or something like that, and they'll come to attack the village. He uses his dragon blood to save everybody. I don't know, but we'll see. But it's decent so far. The stories of girls who couldn't be magicians. Oh, this is an exciting one.
Looks cute.
Mahotsukai ni naren nakata onnanoko no hanashi. This one is streaming on Crunchyroll, running for 12 episodes, being done by Studio JC staff, based on a novel. Genres are fantasy. This one opens up with Kurumi Mirai. And when she was very young, she was living with her grandmother, I believe it was, and she always did kind of teach her all these little charms and stuff, that she could write some charms on her hands. And at some point, she was looking forward to this meteor shower or something like that, so she made a little charm that was supposed to ward off the rain. But then the storm came, and so she was really mad at the charm that didn't work. And then she ended up seeing something, so she ran out to go this one hill where she ends up seeing this magician who cleared out all the rain, just pushed away all the storms, so that she could see the storm, or the storm, the meteor shower. At which point, this lady asks Kurumi, do you like magic? She's like, I really like magic. So she ends up giving her this old notebook and saying, once you get older and you become a magician, take this with you and wait again, or something like that. So cut forward, she studies really, really hard so that she can join this one academy, the Retoran Academy of Magic, where she could become one of the Megami students,
which the Megami students are the ones that can get bestowed a notebook so they can become a magician. If you don't get into the Megami class of students, you join the standard program where you don't become a magician. But you're still in a really good school, so your future is ahead of you. So most of the people in that class, they're like, it's fine, whatever, I want to become a cook or something like that. So it's still a prestigious school to be a part of, even if you don't become a magician. But Kurumi wanted to become a magician, so her getting stuck in the standard class sucks. But yeah, she doesn't really let it. Well, lets it get her down, but thankfully, Maki, her roommate's always trying to keep her positive and keep her moving forward. She goes through the standard class where they meet their new teacher. Their new teacher is Minami Suzuki, and she tells all the students in the standard class she's going to teach them magic. Everybody's like, that's absurd. We're in the standard class. Only Megami students become magicians. She's like, oh, that's fine. Because apparently, again, Megami students are the ones that get the notebook, and in order to use magic, you have to have these notebooks. They kind of make it out like a digital pocket thingy. Like you open it up and you like type in a number and it produces the spell and the spell goes off, like digital magic. Whereas Suzuki Sensei, she
are
basically
are we redoing Irregular at Magic High?
Similar to that, yeah, similar to that. And this might be a thing in that one as well. Is Suzuki herself doesn't have a notebook. She draws the magic, so she'll actually draw these symbols, and the symbols themselves become the magic. The assumption already here is that probably the notebook itself probably draws that for you. It's just that they aren't taught how to draw it because that's old magic. New magic, probably to prevent it from going bad, you use these notebooks, which basically creates the spell or the symbol. But yeah, Suzuki Sensei's like, no, here's how it works. You draw this. She basically just has the entire class constantly over and over again draw shapes. Draw a line, draw this, draw that, draw this, draw a point to here. Doesn't really explain it very well. Most of them are like, I don't even understand this. Let us get to regular classes. We're wasting time here. Everybody's drawing lines over and over again. Nothing's happening. Until eventually, and Kurumi is like totally into it because she wants to become a magician, so she's trying really hard on it. Eventually, some kids end up getting attacked by this tree, and Kurumi ends up actually able to draw something that actually works. And so it finally makes everybody believe, oh wait, Kurumi pulled it off. Maybe we can actually do this. So as they're kind of doing that, eventually Kurumi ends up learning how to create a fire spell, which was really great as well. Everybody else is not really pulling it off. Everybody's getting kind of frustrated until eventually one night, Suzuki Sensei shows up and says, hey, Kurumi, continue everything for me. I have to leave. So literally the teacher that's teaching them how to do this is like, peace out. I got to leave for a bit. Later, guys. And that's kind of where I've left it so far. She's also joined this club that she wanted to join the Magic Research Club or Mystic Research Club, but they won't let her join because she's not a Megami. And then she ends up running into these two dorks that have the Magic Research Club, I think it's called. But that's all a cover for them doing, like, they're searching for the wonders of the school, the 7 wonders of the school. So, but they eventually kind of inform Kurumi about the fact that the overall story, which is that the mages, like the big higher up mages of society, they were comprised of 2 groups. One side was kind of going into all this magic that they currently use for the academy itself, but then there was the ancient magicians who were all about drawing the magic and using like under this other ancient magic arts. And that's what Suzuki, they believe that she's probably a part of that group because they went underground and they know ancient magic, which is what she called the magic she was teaching them. This drawing the magic is ancient magic. So that stuff. My thoughts. I wanted to love this show really, really badly because I think coming into this season, I'm like, I love it. It looks so good. Like visually, it looks really good. Very unique style to it. Very kind of soft, almost crayon style to it. Very soft colors. Even the actual outlines and everything like that. It looks visually very beautiful. And I like the character designs. They're very unique. All the characters themselves are a lot of fun. I really like Maki. Her roommate, she's a lot of fun. She's just trying to constantly keep her chin up. Kurumi is kind of annoying. Like she's just super whining all the dang time.
constantly whining, which kind of is frustrating. Yuzu's kind of the obvious tsundere rival character that constantly acts like she doesn't care, but she actually really badly cares. So she's kind of a lot of fun. Suzuki, the teacher, she's kind of bubbly. She's like a goofy little lolly teacher character. Everybody else I hate. Everybody else I hate, especially the stupid guy that sings everything. There's this one guy in the class that wants to be a singer, and so every time he says anything, he has to sing it, and it's really freaking annoying. There's a lot of really annoying characters in this show, and every now and then we get to constantly show this one character who is watching them, and eventually walks into his room, transforms back into a person, and says how everything is going to according to Keikaku or something. I don't know why we have to keep showing this person constantly walk into this bedroom, transform back into a person, and say, yeah, they did this. I'm sure they're very important to the story. But, yeah, overall the characters are fine, while at the same time, too many of them that are annoying. The story is fine. I think the overall layout of the story is too slow. I would probably say that. I think my biggest hang up right now for this show, and it makes the certain characters that are annoying stand out more, is that the story itself is going too slow. Once we started getting into the wonders, once she started getting into that club and looking for the wonders of the academy, I immediately felt like we were purposely getting into filler already. Like, it's like this almost feels like it's filler, because I almost feel like we are getting sidetracked from anything of substance right now. And it makes sense. I mean, if we're going to have this, what would seem like is probably going to be like an entire story that is based in an academy, they're going to want to kind of pace things out to kind of stretch it out. Okay, now we're going to get involved in the club, and the club's doing something shenanigans over here. All the way at the same time, she just manages to barely scrape together one spell. We can't have her learn magic immediately. We can't have the whole class learning magic too fast. Let's get the teacher out of the picture so they can struggle a little longer to not learn magic, because we can't have the entire classroom starting to learn how to magic, because then that's going to probably make the entire society question, why are they knowing ancient magic? That stuff. So, I don't know. It just feels like it's not pacing out well. I think its biggest problem, though, because I wouldn't mind the reveals and the pacing of the characters and their development in magic if I maybe enjoyed the characters' interactions more. Because I think in the end, its biggest problem, I think, overall, and I think the thing that could probably save it if it was doing it well, is a lot of the chemistry sucks. A lot of the chemistry sucks. Like, Yuzu, every now and then, I like her as a character. Maki as a character, I like her character. Them interacting doesn't work well. Like, even though the separate characters are fun, they don't interact enough, or their interactions kind of suck. So there's a lot of stuff that's working against this show. At the same time, I'm wanting to like it. And because you can tell as how much negativity I have for it, it's not really working in so many ways. And again, a lot of that has to do with the chemistry kind of sucks. The pacing of the overall story kind of sucks. And there's way too many lulling points where I just really don't care for it. I guess in the end, what I almost feel like this entire show is just, maybe it's too aimed towards a younger audience. Like, there's sometimes where I almost feel like it's a little bit too juvenile. Like, the singing guy kind of gives me the impression it's supposed to be like a more juvenile show. But, I don't know. I think just overall, there's a lot of things working against it, and I'm not really sure if I'm going to continue it. I kind of want to, because it's just got a very unique style to it, but Little Witch Academia, it is not. It gave me a lot of Little Witch Academia vibes early on, because you have like the whole girl, and she's inspired by this one magician, and she goes to the academy and all that kind of stuff. Nope, not that. I don't know. We'll see. They still even have this aspect where she was given one of those magic notebooks when she was younger, and she hasn't even looked at it yet. Even though, like, Maki told her, you probably don't want to show anybody that. Like, you having that notebook's probably not good. I think my assumption there is that the mage that seen him where she was younger probably went to the academy and probably learned how to use one of those notebooks, but then realized at some point she doesn't need the notebook anymore because she learned ancient magic, and she probably just handed it out to Kumari because, like, I don't need this. Here, take this. But why would she have to hide it is the question mark. But they kind of imply that only people that are Megami students can have them. So that's probably why she can't be seen with it. So I know. That's the stories of girls who couldn't be magicians. We'll call it there. I think we'll call it there. We still have, I don't know, we're probably going to end up doing a 3-parter, or a 4-parter, which I kind of I don't know, there's a lot in the remaining that we might not even do. Like, I don't know if I'm going to get caught up on Connie Arabe, Tombo. I do want to watch Tombo. Definitely need to watch the Chris, for next week. Sumisho? You were going to watch Sumisho already, weren't you?
Yeah, I already started.
Yeah, okay. Sumisho. Grieving Soul Retire?
That one I would have to go out of my way for.
What are you currently planning? What were you currently planning? Like, you don't need to watch Bleach. You already read Bleach. Chris doesn't need to watch Bleach. He's read Bleach.
I'm technically still ahead of it in the.
What is on your docket this week, Chris?
Well, obviously continuing the shows so that I don't fall behind. But yeah, Grieving Soul will probably be on it. Reincarnated Aristocrat, Sumisho will probably be on there. Yeah, probably a Freda. Those are the ones that I'm...
If you get time, Maglamir.
Huh?
If you get time, Maglamir. At least an episode of Maglamir.
Oh, yeah, but that one, like I said, that one I have to download. But yeah, that's fine. I'll see if I can download it and get it going.
Download it from Amazon Prime.
Yes.
Get your subscription today.
I'm definitely doing it legitly.
Like you're not downloading Ranma 1/2 from Netflix. Download it off the side for that. Anyways, that's all we'll do today. Like I said, we still have on the docket Ranma 1/2, Bleach, Yakuza Fiance, Megalamir, Natsume's Book of Friend, Spirit Chronicles, Terrified Teacher of Ghoul School, Nina Starry Bride, Dragon Ball Daima, Demon Lord 2099, Shangri-La Frontier, Alpharetta, Blue Mibori, or Blue Wolves or whatever. What else? I don't know if I'll do Kamirabe. I do want to do Tombo. I might pop in there for a couple episodes. Grieving Soul, Aristocrat, and Sumisho. I don't know. We might be able to finish it off next week. We'll see. There's some of those in that list I'm not going to spend much time on. Like Ghoul School, I don't really want to talk much about. So we might be able to pull off one more part. We'll see, though. We'll pace it as we see. But maybe if Chris gets in here early, we might be able to pull it off.
Maybe if next week I can pull some extra time. But as it stands right now, I mean, last week was absolutely absurd, and it doesn't feel like it's easing up at all.
We shall see. We shall see. Anyways, appreciate you guys for dropping by. Hope you guys enjoyed these first impressions. As per usual, if you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe before you leave. Leave us a comment. Leave that little like button there on your podcast of choice. Make sure to give us a rating. We appreciate you guys' support. If you want other ways to support the channel, talkspirit.com. So all of our links are there for social media, ways to support us. We greatly appreciate that it supports the channel. But until next time, you'll take care.
Os.